Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see there, Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another round of PSGL. It's round number 7, if I'm not mistaken, and today it is the Mexican Grand Prix, an ever-exciting circuit for an ever-exciting series. PC Tier 1 is at its hottest at the minute, and it shows no signs of slowing down. We look forward to a fantastic 36-lap race today. It should be a fun one. My name is Dan Field, and being joined once again for the second time here in PSGL PC F1, it is, of course, Nathan Richards. Nathan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing brilliant. Hello, Dan. Hello, everyone in the chat. It's nice to be back here, obviously, on PCF1 once again this season. Also, I'm wishing George the best. Obviously, he's been a little bit ill recently, so George, hope he gets better soon, mate, if you're watching it, of course. But Mexico, it's a track that I used to say a lot, I don't like it. But then again, in the past 2 months, I've been here about 4 times doing commentary. So now I've actually kind of forced myself to like it a bit more. So finally, I can say I don't mind the Mexico race. So I think this should be, quite an interesting race.
I will always be a fan of Mexico. I've always been a fan of this fantastic circuit. It's iconic for so many different corners. That beautiful stadium section where the confetti will pour over the drivers as they complete their 36th lap of the race, and of course the ever challenging S's section really does make for some incredible driving, especially on the rare occasion that the racers go side by side. Should be in for a spectacular event this evening tonight. Nathan, the grid is absolutely immense here this evening. We're just getting everyone into the lobby very quickly, and we should be heading in to the race very soon. But of course, the big name is here. There's a lot of really talented drivers. There's Jan Waltmere, Freddie Rasmussen, Otis Lawrence, Brendan Lee is making his return. I believe he's missed a couple races so far this season. But Nathan, all signs are pointing towards what's going to be a sensational race today.
Indeed, I think the grid is, as usual, really brilliant. It's at the top of, I think, league racing in general. This grid is absolutely amazing. And then again, we also get to see some, I wouldn't say we've got many new faces in here, but we definitely got some faces that may not have made too many appearances last season, such as like Jack West. He's definitely new to this F1 grid. Obviously used to race a lot in F2, won it, then he moved up to F1. And also nice to see lots of Tamashka and Ben Shabakonya here, obviously in the AlphaTauri today. I'm quite keen to see what they can do. Obviously, we know that Ben's been around a long time, hasn't been in the F1 scene, or at least in the PCF1 scene too much, along with Tamash, obviously, who won the championship in F2. He moved up to F1. So yeah, I'm quite interested to see what they can do. And also Dylan Warren as well. He hasn't been here too recent. He had an issue with his pedals. He's got some new ones. He did say to me that he wasn't looking too optimistic because he's getting used to them. So we'll see what he can do. But either way, I think he's back on the grid, which is a good thing to see.
Yeah, we got my personal favourite. I know commentators aren't meant to have biases, but we've got Will Lewis in the McLaren. I never get a bet against Will Lewis when it comes to PSGL, so fingers crossed he's got a good race in Story. Scored a point so far this season, do not forget. Unfortunately, I've not got any of the standings on the graphics, but I'm sure I can find a little post on Twitter, and then I can read out how things are looking heading into this race. Jan Waltmere is indeed leading the way on 58 points ahead of Thomas Ronhart on 37. Danny Berejne lines up in 3rd position on 33, of course being that reserve driver. Then Ismail Fassi on 33 points. He is in 4th position, level actually with Danny. Otis is in 5th with 28, just 2 points ahead of Jake Benham, who is in 6th position on 26. Isfan Pookie, of course, was a part of that incredible fight right towards the end of that last race. We'll get onto that in just a minute. He sits 7th on 25, level with Alfie Butcher, and then rounding out the top 10 is Brendan Lee and Luke Smith. Just missing out on the top 10 at the minute, it's Freddie Rasmussen on 19 points ahead of Max Wiesel, who took win in Spain on 16 points, 2 points clear of Alvaro Caraton on 14. Barry Burman yet to make an impact on this league so far this season. He's on 8 points in 14th. Then there's a whole sea of reserve drivers. Hoffland on 6, Blakely on 5, level with Presnader on 5 as well. Shanika Clay on 4, level with Ben Shabbat Connie, and rounding out the top 20 is Tom Manley. And Nathan, getting into this race tonight, how are we going to top what happened in Jeddah?
I didn't watch too much of Jeddah, but from what I heard, it was an absolutely chaotic race. So I'm all for it here. But then again, Jeddah is one of those circuits. It promotes chaos. Whereas here, it can be a little bit more calmer. Apart from probably that first corner, I think turn 1 here, especially on that first lap of the race, is always quite it always brings a lot of carnage. But I think after that, to be fair, this circuit is quite tame in terms of the battling that it promotes, because it's very hard to really kind of make a move on this circuit, especially with how big these cars are. So I think the main overtaking opportunities in here, the main carnage, will be especially down towards that turn 1 and possibly down in towards turn 4 in that heavy braking zone. Yeah,
possibly. Of course, that is a double DRS zone as well, so it really can make some very interesting racing. Of course, that first S's section, I believe they've got a name. I know most corners actually have a name around this circuit, but that one slipped my mind. But yeah, coming off of Jeddah, immense finish. 3 cars at the line, separated by less than a tenth. Jarno Otmir beating out Istvan Pukki by 5 thousandths of a second. Ismail Fassi rounding out that podium with being 8 hundredths off the back of Jarno Otmir. Absolutely incredible stuff. I don't know if we're going to get the same scenes today, but Mexico always does deliver and should make for some great racing. We are about to head into qualifying, Nathan. Of course, it is the 18 minutes Q1 session, 50 minutes Q2, Q3, 12 minutes. We've had some surprises in recent weeks, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this one.
Indeed, yeah. I think one of the main things to probably consider at this circuit is if it rains. I think, the weather difference on here, if it's really wet, it really changes the way you have to drive the circuit. Some circuits you can still drive it pretty much the same, but around here, you've really got to change up your your approach to the track. And I think, well, at the start of Q1, at least it's dry. We don't know if it'll go wet, but I don't think it will. I think if it's right at the start, it normally stays dry without. But obviously, we're getting ourselves now in towards the Q1 session, and I think as well around this circuit, the lap times are relatively short, so we tend to see quite a few surprise names going out in Q1 and Q2, because you can see whole grids separated by 2-3 tenths of a second.
Yeah, absolutely, and I want everyone to get their predictions in very, very early. Let me know who you think is going to be taking pole position. I'll bring you over to the game scene now, and you can see the whole grid on the left-hand side. But if you look towards the paddock, you can see the fantastic PSGL GT Omega logos. Make sure you spot out as many as you can. Brilliant work from both Josh Merrin Designs and I believe Byron Hale. But it was absolutely just beautiful stuff. Myself and Nathan, before getting into this race, or this qualifying session, we were just looking at it in awe.
It's, indeed, the grid is, it's immense as usual. So I'm hoping to see some quite interesting racing between the whole field. Obviously, yet again, we kind of see the same 5-6 names who are going to be looking to fight at the top. But then again, you put a name like Freddie Rasmussen, who's just heading out to track. He's a driver who I'll probably expect to see more of this season towards the top. He's a driver that, I think, then again, he does racing leagues, but he doesn't always... It's like he sandbags a bit, isn't it? Because he doesn't always perform as a top driver in PSGL and the leagues, but then when he goes to esports, he's absolutely flying.
We never see his absolute best in league racing. He likes to, move in silence, and then when it actually comes to the F1 Esports Series, he really does turn up the heat. But he's the first man out onto the circuit, being followed by an AlphaTauri. That's either Ben Shabakoni or Tamás Gal, the all-Hungarian lineup. We'll see how the pair of them work it all out together today. But I just want to take more minutes, more of your time to just admire the sponsorship all around the circuit, and especially in that third sector, Nathan. That try over, is it try over there? That sort of the stadium section. There we go. And that little bit of on the inside, it's just absolutely beautiful. I think we're about to head up to it now, and we'll see just the beauty that is this work we've got.
Indeed, obviously, I believe these are made by, I think it's Josh Merrin, and they are absolutely brilliant. You can see all the different sponsors, and I think the thing that caught my eye is under the grandstand, you can actually see the sponsor boards change between the different logos, which I think is brilliant. They are absolutely amazing. I can't see them on my end, but I know you can see them on the stream. They are, yeah, they're a very good job, and hopefully we get to keep them out, keep them throughout the whole season, because I think they're a little bit better than the JHL and Aramco boards. So I think the PSGL logo has definitely got a bit more of a nicer swing to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know, everyone in the live chat as well, how things are looking on your side of things, as I'm streaming on Restream, so things might be a little bit touchy here and there, but fingers crossed, all is looking okay on your feeds. I'll read out some of your predictions for pole position, and already, Nathan, seeing a lot of love for Jarno Altmeer. Of course, Andrew Hornigold saying Jarno Altmeer, it's apparently his favourite circuit. I thought Jarno Altmeer wasn't the biggest fan. Actually, no, he is a big fan of this circuit. He always does well around here. We've got AFC Razor saying Jake Benham is great around this circuit. I'm picking him for pole. Charlie McCormack saying Jarno Altmeer. M19 Chem says Rasmussen is going to get P6. That is a very, very specific prediction there, but I'm going to hold you to that. See if you end up taking that. The Humperdinck for pole position says Will Murdoch. Very interesting indeed, but lots of predictions coming out already. Make sure you get some of yours in the live chat. Nathan, I don't think I've asked you already. I want to go as early as you can. Who are you going for pole?
It's early. There's nothing to go off. It's a very hard one. And the thing is, I haven't got any statistics of who performs here well either. So I'm just going to go off instinct. I'm going to go with, we'll go Brendan Lee. Brendan Lee for Sabre.
Brendan Lee, two-time esports champion. He's missed a few races so far this season. We'll see if Brendan Lee is going to be winning this or winning pole position here today. But of course, if you consider it, you don't actually really want to be on pole position all too much around this circuit due to the fact that that run in towards turn at number 1 I think might be the longest on the Formula 1 calendar. Is absolutely incredible, and the slipstream that you get in towards that first corner, it actually does benefit you to start maybe in 3rd or 4th position on that second row, because then you're able to leapfrog your rivals, and we always see, most of the time, Nathan, 4 wide action into that corner.
Yeah, indeed. That first corner, you're definitely going to be a little bit wary sometimes. But we can see at the moment we've got Ishmael Fassi, who's on a set of soft, so going out very early compared to the rest of the others. We'll see what he can do at the moment to 28.537 in the first set. And yet again, Ishmael Fassi is a driver that he's got 33 points, but I think he's shown pace where he deserves to have more than that. I think he's shown pace that sometimes to become the championship leader. So we'll see what he can do here tonight. I think qualifying as of recent has been a bit of a lackluster for him. I think he's definitely been performing a lot better in the race. So we'll see what he can do tonight. Maybe he can get himself decent in the qualifying form, but I think he's definitely a driver who can definitely look to get himself into the top 10. Obviously, we've got a few lap times coming through then, but they're on the intermediate tyres. I mean, pretty much nothing here on the board, unless there's 6 people at the back who don't set a lap time. Then it does mean something.
Yeah, this is what we're going to see from Ishmael Fassi then through the final few corners off the exit of the Peraltada, I believe it is called. If you want to keep it to the right-hand side as tight as you can. It's a 15.3 to open up the session for Ishmael Fassi. We'll see how he's able to do in the next few parts of qualifying. He's doing really well in the standings at the minute. I'm noticing a lot of frame dips as well. That is actually on my side of things. For some reason, I'm getting 14 frames per second, so I might look to maybe change up some of my settings here. Fingers crossed that it all works well, but yeah, do apologise for it.
Yeah, it should be fine. And either way, Dan, at least you actually streamed the event. You could have had no streams, so people should be a little bit grateful that it actually is being streamed. But just a little look through, and obviously Alvaro Carlson wasn't on lap. He did let off on his lap in the end of set to 1, so he'll be either preparing to go again, or he'll be heading back into the pit lane to get himself onto a new set of tyres. Apart from that, there's not really much of action out on track. We've got Tomasz Gal, who's going to be heading back into the pits on his 1 minute 19.9. Obviously, he was in the on the intermediate tyres, so they're nothing of what we expect to see from any driver on this grid, and we can see him now entering the pits. But normally, Dan, isn't it? It's about that 10-minute, 9-minute mark where we see everyone all kind of huddle up together and head out onto circuit to complete their first laps.
Yeah, so we're approaching that very, very soon. 11 minutes left to go in at this qualifying session. There you can see as we're watching Alvaro Carlson, the signing boards changing around the grandstand. It's absolutely beautiful. I saw Josh Merrin in the chat talking about my internet. It's not actually my internet. For some reason, it's my game. I'm getting 27 frames in the game at the minute. So I will maybe in between qualifying sessions, whilst we're talking in the intermission room, just have a little look at fixing some of the settings. But it's something I'm going to have to deal with now. Also, James is suggesting changing my bitrate. Please do let me know if my bitrate is right. It's not my internet, but yeah, fingers crossed, Nathan, we'll be all right.
It seems, Dan, every single week I end up with you as a reserve for comms. Something goes wrong with your stream. Every single time. It's like the internet, the game, something always has to go wrong.
Dying.
But isn't it the joy of it?
Yeah, that's it's all part of the process. Sometimes, well, actually, normally it will sort itself out for the race, and I'm keeping my fingers as firmly crossed as I can. It'll all be okay. But yeah, getting into the rest of this qualifying session, Freddie Rasmussen once again out on circuit. Disappointing season for him thus far, of course. He's always the bridesmaid, never the bride when it comes to F1 esports, and he doesn't like to show his talent in. He doesn't like to show his talent all that much in league racing. Of course, we know him for finishing second in, I want to say, ever since 2018, Freddie Rasmussen has finished second in the F1 Esports Series. There's been champions that have come and gone in his tenure, and he's still fighting for every single position that he can. And I hope, for his sake, that it is finally the time where he can capture the glory. But in terms of league racing, Freddie Rasmussen about to get his lap underway, as is most other drivers. We've got 18 out of the 20 drivers all out on circuit. It's Van Pookie and Jake Benham heading out now. Nathan, this qualifying session is about to get very, very exciting.
It is, and Freddie's got to hope that he doesn't get caught in a bit of traffic, because most drivers are still only heading down towards turn 4. Some drivers heading down towards turn 1, obviously that being a Mercedes and a Ferrari. So we'll see what Freddie can do on his first run. Obviously the first run on the softs was a 1 minute 15.326 from Ishmael Fassi. We'll see what Freddie can do to open up the session for himself, and obviously his teammate Tom Manley as well, going to be getting ready to get a lap underway soon. So go on board with Freddie, go more at the final corner to get yourself a decent run down towards that first corner. Obviously having some DRS to give you some nice aid in towards that first corner. You can see you take a lot of speed down towards this section. We'll see what speed Freddie can hit before he hits that brake zone, around 321 kilometers an hour before he slams onto the brakes in towards that first corner. Obviously it's double detection zone, so you will get DRS yet again down towards turn 4. Oh, hopping the curves through turns 1, 2 and 3. Back on the pair on the exit. Try not to run too wide to get your lap invalidated. Now you head down to turn 4. Bit of DRS again. You hit around 300 kilometers an hour before you hit the braking zone in towards that corner. 28.605 from Freddie Rasmussen. I think now, Dan, that's probably the easy part of the circuit done. The first sector's quite easy. It's now this second sector where it gets really, really technical.
Yeah, sector 2 is where it gets tough for these drivers. Let's ride on board with Freddie Rasmussen as he takes towards this very challenging sector 2S's section, where you have to utilize every part of the circuit that you humanly possibly can without invalidating, and Freddie Rasmussen has taken that with perfect precision. Lots and lots of traffic as he heads into the final sector now. Freddie Rasmussen off the exit of the Delavallo corner. It seems like everyone doing very well to get out of the way of the Great Dane now through the stadium section and in towards Peraltada to complete this lap. Let's see what the scores on the doors are for Freddie Rasmussen. Will he go quicker than Ishmael Fassi? Indeed he will. 15.0 coming out from him there, and we'll see what he can do later on in this session. Plenty more drivers getting their laps underway, I believe. Who else is on a lap? I think Will Lewis in that final sector.
Yeah, Luke Smith comes over to take second place. Will Lewis, where will he go to the line? He will go into P2 with a 15.226. We've got a few more cars coming through. I think it might be Philip Preschneider coming through out of the final corner. We'll see what he can do in qualifying. Where can he go to on the board? We'll go P2 for him with a 0.161. Then we got one of the Alpines coming through. That'll be Ruben Progenio. He goes up into fourth with a 0.255. Then we've got the other Red Bull, Tom Manley, coming through. He goes up into third with a 0.185. So very nice lap times from that moment. Jona Watmere goes into second. But so far, that lap there from Freddie, they're not really being challenged by many people on the grid.
Yeah, Jona Watmere getting close with a 15.0 there. Otis Lawrence has come across the line, only 9th fastest for him. What about Brendan Lee? Your prediction for pole? There's Alfie Butcher to the very top of the order with a 15.034. Very nice time from the Haas man himself. Brendan Lee, what can he do off the exit then of the final corner at the barreled harder, keeping it pinned to that right hand side? What can the two-time F1 Esports champion do? It's P7 for the time being. He struggled in qualifying recently, but it seems like he is all doing okay. And yeah, I'm still having these issues. I do apologize, everyone. Okay, yeah, I'll get it sorted in just a minute's time. But Jake Benham coming up towards the line now, only P17. Disappointing run for Jake Benham there. See what he can do as the session progresses. But Nathan, Tamash Gal, Jake Benham, Jack West, Dylan Warren, and Ulash Azildrum in the drop zone.
Indeed, I think Tamash and Jake, two big names that could be looking to go out qualifying, along with Otis Lawrence, who's in P15. That's not normally where we expect to see him after the first run, seeing qualifying. He's normally one of those who kind of blitz the times and goes up towards that top 5, top 3. So Yeah, definitely some time improvement needed for Otis Lawrence in P15. Obviously, Jack West as well and Dylan Warren having a bit of a struggle to qualify on as well. They'll need to try and get something out of the bag as well for their next laps. And then with Ulas Ildrim, I think he's definitely got the pace to get himself in towards that top 10. But obviously, he's made a mistake somewhere on his lap, and it's really, really ruined that chance of him at the moment getting himself out of that Q1 drop. So obviously, Alfie Butcher, very good to see him at the top ahead of Freddie and Yano. And I think Alfie recently then has definitely been showing some brilliant performances, especially in the qualifying stages.
Yeah, Nathan just brought us over to the radio comm setup now. Fingers crossed we'll get everything sorted out for you. And yeah, you know, just give me a few minutes here, please. My internet's not bad. It's not my internet. I'm sorting it out. Nathan, we're relying on you now.
Indeed. Yeah, hopefully you can get it sorted soon, because from what I can see, it's also very unwatchable. But we can see now not really much going on in qualifying. Everyone's heading back into the bits. We've got Alfie Butcher, who was just retired on his 1 minute 15.034. We've got, obviously, Brendan Lee and Thomas Rana just entering into the pits off of their laps, sitting 9th and 10th. And then we've also got one of the Williams also entering back in. So about 4.5 minutes left to go. We'll see probably most people, I'd say, top 4 down, heading back out on circuit to get their final runs underway. And obviously lots of Ulas just needs to get a top on the board, if anything. Then obviously lots of Jack, Dylan, Jake and Tamas need to get themselves out of that drop zone. Otis Lawrence also looking for an improvement along with the 2 Alpines, sitting 13th and 14th. And Dan, any predictions for the end of Q1? Anyone you see will maybe go out? Anyone we'll see get through at the last second?
I'm not too sure. You know what? Sorry, I've just been focused on getting all these issues fixed. And Nathan, I think I might have, for whatever reason, my game defaulted to being on all ultra high settings. Why? I have absolutely no idea. But I think it is all okay. So we've got drivers coming out onto the circuit now. Let's have a look, right, at Otis Lawrence exiting on the circuit. And once we get the camera on him there, no idea why it's done that. I've just put everything onto low, so it won't look the prettiest, but there we go. You can see Otis Lawrence out on circuit. How is it looking, everyone in that live chat? I'm looking at you now, seeing it. Let me know. Is it all looking okay? As Jana Watmere and Alfie Butcher, they retired from the session, Nathan. I think they're definitely going to be safe, but God, I don't know who has to come out. I think everyone, maybe from Philip downwards, needs to come out on circuit.
Definitely, I think the stream looks a bit better. It does at least my end when I'm watching the stream on YouTube. So hopefully, you know, we're getting a little bit sorted and we can have a bit of a, you know, a less laggy end to Q1. But obviously, we can see now, obviously, Freddie also getting onto the circuit. So Freddie wanted to get himself an extra lap in. I think he knows his 1 minute 15.04 when he's safe enough, but maybe just wants to get himself an extra lap underway and get himself a bit more practice in for the next part of qualifying. Obviously, Q2 and Q3 will be very close. And there we are. Ron Hart gets himself a 5-place grid penalty. They don't matter at all until you get 3 of them, then you get disqualification, which I think I've seen happen multiple times in the past few weeks. I don't know if there's been a change, it's made them worse, but I keep seeing more people get disqualified due to these 5-place grid penalties. So hopefully, Thomas can avoid a few more so he doesn't get himself out of the session. But yeah, we're going to get underway shortly. We've got obviously Yano, it'll be Jake at the front, but he's definitely got to find some time here, Dan.
Yeah, very interesting to see this session and how it's going to actually unfold here, because if I bring up the gaps to the leaders, look at how close this grid is. The top 5 all separated by less than a tenth. I have no doubt that Alfie Butcher and Jana Watmere are going to be able to get through here. Very interesting to see that Freddie Rasmussen has actually come up back out onto the circuit, but the rest of the field very close behind. And you see the gap between Otis Lawrence and Tamas Gal. The difference between being eliminated and safe into the next session is just what that's a couple, like 100th of a second at this point. A little bit over that, 14 thousandths to be absolutely precise with that one there. So it is imperative that these drivers get these laps absolutely perfect as Otis Lawrence heads down in towards turn number 1. We'll see how this session unfolds. Alfie Butcher, Jana Watmere believing they are safe, but 18 out of the 20 drivers all out on circuit. Nathan, here we go.
Indeed, we'll see what Otis can do in this first sector, heading down out towards turn 4. Will it be an improvement for the McLaren? It will be by nearly a tenth, and that is enough to get him up towards P10. That's how close it is from 10th down to 16th. It is just less than a tenth of a second between Ron Hart and Tamas Gal, so we'll need to see everyone there getting at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 tenths of an improvement to keep themselves safe. Going through and towards Q2, you can see Otis taking everything he can out of the cars. He heads through the S's sections now in towards the final part of the S is at turn, I believe it's turn 11, and now with some DRS in towards turn 12. And the issue we could have is a couple of cars getting in the way, but luckily, Dan, I think they've all just gotten away with their laps at the last second, and hopefully no one gets caught up with dirty air. You can see them all heading down to turn 1, probably only maybe a second or two separate them all.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of traffic on the circuit. I think everyone's been able to find their little nook and cranny that they've been able to fit into very nicely. Jake Benham's come across the line with a time good enough for P4, because Otis Lawrence has come across the line there with an absolutely stunning 14.886, a great lap time coming out from him there. Will Lewis coming up towards the line next. We'll see what he can do. Only P12. Going to be a disappointing run, I'd say, for Will Lewis there. Jack West in the drop zone, unfortunately, has invalidated on his lap. Will return to the pit lane, and he is out of qualifying here this evening. What about Ulashes Ildren coming up to the line as the clock strikes 0? No new laps can be completed, and there is Ulashes Ildren to the line. Should hopefully be safe, Nathan.
Indeed, we can see a few more cars on laps. Dylan Warren's down by a tenth, I think, in the first section. He's up by them in the middle by a little bit, but not much at all. As we can see, Brezhnev through towards P11. That'll be Tamashgal out to the drop zone, over to P8. Pushes Ronhar through into that drop zone. He's going to find a big improvement now by, well, he's invalidated. So Ronhar's out. Ronhar's out.
Wow.
I'm having an invalidation at the final couple of corners. And obviously Dylan Warren out as well. So that is it. Ben Shabakonyi, Thomas Ronhar, Luke Smith, Jack West, and Dylan Warren.
Wow, Thomas Ronhar being eliminated. I was going to say Luke Smith is the big loss from that qualifying session. Scratch that. Thomas Ronhar being knocked out in Q1 is absolutely massive, considering the fact he's in a title fight with Jarno Otmir at the minute. Thomas Ronhar starting from 17th on the grid. It's going to be very difficult for him to find places in this Grand Prix. Nathan, of course, Mexico is very good for battling, but with the DRS trains that do tend to form around this circuit, it can be very difficult for him to make up places. It's going to be done on the strategy today.
It will. I think we need to see Thomas go through with something a bit different to the others. I think that's the only way we'll see move his way up. So, yeah, big shame indeed for Thomas Ron. Obviously fighting, of course, with Jarno Otmir. 21 points, I believe, is separating the two going into this race. Jarno looking comfortable on pace, put himself into P6 with only one lap set. But also we can look through. Will Lewis, I think, was very lucky, because I thought when I saw him going to P12, I thought, oh, he might be out here, because a lot of people behind were improving, but he got through by the skin of his teeth. Just 7 thousandths separating him and Ben Shabakonyi for the drop zone. Then only another 7 thousandths back to Thomas Ronhart in P17. So, yeah, very close between those guys. LC as well. Brendan Lee barely making it through towards Q2, only about 100th of a second separating him and Will Lewis. But I've got to notice, Dan, it's getting very dark on circuit at the end of Q1.
Oh, wow, it's raining.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
It's just started raining at the end of Q1. If you look at the pit lane now, at Ruben's car getting serviced, there's actually just rain out on circuit. So I think all these drivers very lucky that they've been able to get their laps in when they could. But wow, we might see a wet Q2 session. We'll have to wait and see. We're about to load into it, just waiting for Alvaro and Ruben to get their car serviced, and then we should hopefully head into the next session. But it's funny that we were talking about how the difference between being eliminated and being safe was 14 thousandths between Otis Lawrence and Tamas Gal. Otis Lawrence and Tamas Gal. For the case of Thomas Ronhar, it was actually 14 thousandths as well. So very funny, very ironic there. Otis Lawrence topping Q1 then. Ishmael Fassi in P2. P3 is Alfie Butcher. How about that? The three young guns lining up 1, 2 and 3. Freddie Razerson leading the old guard in 4th. And then the two Mercedes of Jake Benham and Jarno Otmir 5th and 6th. Tom Manley, a decent qualifying from him in 7th. 8th is Istvan Buki. Rounding out the top 10, Ulashes Ildren, Tamas Gal in 9th and 10th. Then Alvaro Caraton, Philip Prejnado, Ruben Pedreño, Brendan Lee and Will Lewis, all of them surviving qualifying 1. But Ben Shabakonyi, Thomas Ronhar, Luke Smith, Jack West and Dylan Warren all coming a cropper in Q1. Some big names being eliminated there. Thomas Ronhar being one of them. I gotta say, Luke Smith being the other. And Nathan, you said that this circuit can provide some surprises in qualifying. And tell you what, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, indeed, it's going to be wet. Obviously, going through towards Q2, I believe. We're going to see it load shortly, and we can see if it will be wet. And it is.
Oh,
it's
wow.
definitely intermediate tyres here into Q2. So big changes in weather. And I said at the start of the session, if it stayed dry at the start, if it was dry at the start, it probably stayed dry. Well, hasn't that proved me wrong? It is going to be wet going through towards Q2. And then the question we beg to differ is, does it get even more wet? And if that's the case, that creates an even more interesting Q3, and also a very interesting Q2 in the sense of who's going to stay in and who's going to go out, because the lap times will be obviously spreading so much once that wet weather starts to come through more. Obviously, you can see everyone on the track already. this could be a very, very interesting Q2. Otis Lawrence is out first, but everyone has shut out the pits bar one driver, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about to head back over to the game scene, but I want to say a big thank you to all of you tuning in on your Valentine's Day evening. I'm sure you're all coupled up with your loved one. I do want to say a personal happy Valentine's Day to my beautiful girlfriend Lani. I know you're watching at the minute. You know, I bet you weren't expecting that one. But yeah, heading back into the game, we can see a whole gaggle of cars out on circuit. Freddie Razelson towards the tail of that train. But we can see at the front of the order, Otis Lawrence. And if you consider it, if you actually consider it, Nathan, if the sessions are going to get worse and worse throughout this session as it continues along, Otis Lawrence is going to be in the best position here.
He is, yeah. If it's going to get more wet, you definitely need to be one of the first, you know, at least the first in out on circuit to get yourself the best conditions. We do see sometimes people from a little bit further back somehow get some brilliant lap times in, but obviously, you know, you want to be in the best conditions possible. The two Mercedes as well, quite near the back of the train, so they got to hope it doesn't get more wet as the session progresses. But you can see people overtaking. You can see Philip Presnader, I think it was, making an overtake on one of the Alpha Tauris coming down in towards turn 12. So he's also keen to get on with it. We'll see what Otis Lawrence can do as he heads in towards the final corner. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near wet weather just yet in terms of it being full wet, but definitely into the intermediate stage. We'll see what Otis can do. Coming at the final corner, obviously running wide on the exit. You can see, Dan, they're really struggling to get on the throttle nearly in water, so Otis nearly spinning the car.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence struggling to get on the power, heading off the exit of the final corner, the Peraltada. Already, DRS has been disabled. They're all heading now down in towards turn number 1. Otis Lawrence leading the way ahead of Philip Presnader, I believe, because we've lost one of the Aston Martins in at the last session. Then the Alpha Tauri of Tamas Gal and the Haas of, I believe, Alfie Butcher. Then Will Lewis following in behind. Otis Lawrence slides his way off the exit of turn number 4, heading turn number 3, heading down in towards turn number 4. A heavy braking zone. We're going to see plenty of overtakes in towards now this second sector. Very technical part of the circuit. And Nathan, before we headed into the stream today, I was talking about this section of the track, and I think those grandstands off to the left are the best ones that you get to sit in, because you see all the way down the Transira straight and in towards the beginning of the S's section, where they're taking it a lot slower than they would have been doing in the dry.
Indeed, yeah, it's a brilliant place to watch. I'd also I'd like to watch from the stadium section, but it's a little bit slow for me, and I like to watch cars going fast, not going slow through you know, a chicane type section. So yeah, definitely turn 6 is a brilliant way to watch. Also down that one straight, but we can see obviously now Otis looking to get himself his laptop on the board. We'll see what he can do at the end of the lap, just coming through now in towards the Forest Hole section, very slow through that stadium as he heads in towards the final corner at the Peraltada, of course, and we'll see what lap time Otis Lawrence can set as he heads up towards the line. What will it be for the McLaren? Will be 1 minute 24.307. I can see those lap times coming down heavily as it goes through. His Philip Presnader goes fastest. Tamas Gal goes even quicker there. Really good lap from Tamas Gal. We got Alfie Butcher into third, Will Lewis into P5, and also Tom Manley went out on a set of softs. He's headed back into the pits because I think he knows that softs definitely weren't the ideal tyre there.
Brendan Lee, the lone Sauber in this session, comes across in P5. What about Jan Watmir in the Mercedes? Had a decent run in the first part of qualifying. He'll come up to the line now. Tamas Gal is the quickest man on circuit. Jan Watmir stealing that crown from him there. Very nice time from the Flying Dutchman to take P1. We know how good Jan Watmir can be in the wet and around a circuit that he tends to enjoy, like Mexico. You got to think Jan Watmir might actually be unstoppable when it comes to this qualifying session. So at the end of the first laps, Jan Watmir leading the way ahead of Tamas Gal. Alvaro Carreton in third position. Fourth, Philip Presnader. Shout out Philip. Then Ismail Fassi in fifth. Looking towards the tail end of the field, the drivers in the drop zone at the minute, it's Van Pookie, Will Lewis, Rune Pedreño, Tom Manley, who went out on a set of the softs, and Ulash Zeldrum, who I think either had a spin or invalidated on his lap. But 5 very talented drivers who are all deserving of making it into the final parts of qualifying, Nathan, currently at risk of being eliminated.
Indeed, the new Lasser again struggling at the start of the session. We saw it in Q1, you know, couldn't really get a lap under at the start. He then got it in at the end. But the issue is when we come towards Q2 and Q3, you've got less opportunity to get yourself out of that drop zone. There's less, you know, there's more pressure on you to get out of it. So he's got to try and, you know, get himself sorted out for Q3. Because if he's doing that again here, you know, if he misses again on his next lap, it could probably be his session over. So he's definitely got to find, you know, figure out what the issue is, and even if that means losing a 10th in the corner where it's invalidating, do it. Get yourself a lap time on the board, as I think he actually might be on a lap now. He's heading down towards the final couple of corners. He was actually up in his middle sector. He was purple through there on my screen, so maybe he's actually on a lap now and gonna just went for a bit of a double A lap possibly. We'll see what he can do as he comes through the final corner. Does he go back into the pits? no, he stays out, so we'll see what Ulas can do. Will he get himself a time on the board? It will be only 14th to 24.9, so quite far back off of Jan Otmi's time. But it's on Pookie as well. Going to be heading back into the bit. It's a big shame to see him in that drop zone.
Yeah, it's Van Pookie, disappointing way to start out his qualifying. I'd have thought Ulash Zildjian would have actually had a pretty decent lap on that run there, because the way that intermediates work in qualifying is quite a bit different to how they work in regards to the softs. The softs are really one and done. If you get that first lap wrong, then you're not going to be able to set a competitive lap on your second tour around. But it's different on the intermediate compound of tyres. You can actually take those maybe 1, 2, 3 laps if you really do want, and they don't lose all that much pace. So Ulash Zildjian, gotta say, disappointing start to Q2. We're watching Tom Manley head down in towards turn number 1. Went out initially on a set of the soft compound of tyres. Nathan, it means this is a fresh set of the intermediates, but it's a very interesting, very bold call from Tom Manley there, but I think maybe just a slight mistake down at the Red Bull camp.
Yeah, indeed. I think at the start of the session, you could have probably maybe got away with the soft spin or a bit of a crossover, but then once those first laps begun, you could see, it started to get a little bit more wet, and the DRS then got disabled, meaning he'd have no advantage at all on those softs. Gone back out there on a set of inters, so we'll see what he can do in this session. Was P7 in Q1, so looking quite strong as he heads his way through and towards the SE section there. We'll see what he can do in this lap, and hopefully for him can get himself through to Q3. I think Tom Manley deserves it. He's been on brilliant form as of recent, along with lots of Alfie Butcher, so I think he's definitely a deserved driver of getting himself into that top 5 in Q3 as well. So we'll see what he can do. He heads down in towards the stadium section of 103.502 in that middle sector. So not looking too bad at the moment, Dan, but definitely some improvements probably could be made on that lap.
As I believe Istvan Pookie is just coming back into the pit lane now. Tom Manley then through the Peraltada corner. Very different in the wets. You could just see how much it is clattering down on the circuit at the minute. Tom Manley to the line, a 25.7 from him. Gotta say, abhorrent lap time when you can compare it to the others on circuit. I wonder, is that rain getting a bit too heavy for these intermediate tyres? Because it definitely has picked up in the last few minutes and is playing against Tom Manley here. Philip Presnader's getting his lap underway, heading down in towards turn number 1, as is Ruben Pedreño. But if the rain is too heavy and the intermediate tyres start to lose speed, I gotta say, all the drivers in the bottom 5 don't have a chance in hell of making it out of this session. Will Lewis has just begun a lap as well, as has Ruben Pedreño. It is going to be critical for these guys to get the best time that they can. But in these conditions, is that possible?
Well, I'm looking here at Philip Presnader. He's down by nearly a second in the first set, so I think the track has gone beyond what it was before. Meaning, if you're the likes of Istvan, Will, Ruben Ulas and Tom, you might be done here, I think, in this session, unless it dries up towards the end, because you can see it's getting worse and worse. You're starting to get a little bit closer towards possibly thinking about the wet tyres. I won't say you're there yet, but you're definitely getting closer towards that stage. So Q3, if the rank is getting worse, we probably will have a full wet Q3, which I think around this circuit, the wet weather, it can be horrible content, especially in that SE section.
Oh yeah, well, right on board with Ruben Pedreño. See how he is coping. He's hardly on the throttle throughout this part of the lap, and in fact, he's actually just invalidated there. So regardless of whether this lap was an improvement, it's not, but he's not been able to set this lap. So I think qualifying might be coming to an end for all of these drivers, unless there's some drastic change in the next 6 minutes we've got left in this session. I think that bottom 5 is looking pretty clear cut at the minute. Will Lewis is also on a lap time. Ruben Pedreño was on a run, but has unfortunately not been able to improve on that one. What about Will? Is he able to defy the odds and improve on that lap? Oh dear, no, he's drifting his way back into the pit lane, but I think that is him conceding his qualifying session. Looks like it's all over for the bottom 5 of Istvan Pookie, Will Lewis, Ruben Pedreño, Ulash Zildjian and Tom Manley. Some big names going out there. Will Lewis, very disappointing to me to see him eliminated from qualifying, but gotta say, Istvan Pookie, really did expect him to be in the final parts of qualifying, as I did for Ulash Zildjian last time out in Saudi Arabia, Nathan. He was so good in qualifying. Now to be 14th place, it's a big shock to me.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that has probably kept him in that drop zone is the fact of he couldn't get that first run underway. I said that his chances are going to be less, and it seems that the chances being less came earlier a lot, a lot earlier than expected. So that's probably what has ruined his qualifying, and could see him, on for some very minimal points going in towards the race. Obviously, being down in 14th on a circuit like this, you've got a lot of work to do to get yourself back up into that top 10. So definitely a big struggle here for Ulas going in towards the race. But then again, we can see what he can do if he can get the strategy to work right. He could easily see himself with some points, but definitely some Pook. He's been a bit unlucky recently, and I would probably blame this on unluckiness, because he wasn't that far off Otis this time. He was half a tenth off of Otis and Brendan Lee. And I think if he did have that extra time, he did have that other lap to say, he probably would have got himself through to the top 10 quite comfortably. So definitely a big shame here for Isfan Pook, and also Virginia, I believe. Is it making his return here, Dan, tonight? I don't think we've seen it much this season, have we?
Oh, God, was he there last week? I think he was there last week. But I think, yeah, he has been fairly absent for the most part of this season. Rumpedreño, not a very warm welcome back here in PSGL, especially with all this rain coming down. I think it's going to be a pretty soggy day for the Alpine driver. As Otis Lawrence retires, he believes that he is firmly safe in the next qualifying session, even though the conditions aren't going to get any better towards the end of this session. I've got to say that it's still a little bit bold to retire from P10, because maybe it does get better within 3.5 minutes, and then all of a sudden Isfan Pook can find half a tenth, and then he is able to improve and eliminate you from qualifying. But I'd say Otis Lawrence not really playing with all too much fire. Maybe a candle he's just playing with there. But one thing I also want to touch up on, oh my God, as I look into the pit lane, absolutely pouring down in there. I want to touch on Isfan Pook. Coming off a fantastic result last week, you got to think he's going to have momentum coming into this one. But Nathan, now that he's effectively out of qualifying, you got to think all of that momentum that he built up from that fantastic finish last time out is going to be wiped away.
Yeah, and he's going to have to pretty much, it's in a way start again. I know he's only just outside the top 10, but it's a fact he's not in the top 10, and that is, the destroying factor for him. I think he knows deep down he's got the pace. He's going out on track now on a set of wets. I don't think he'll find any improvement, but at least we can see what he can do in the wet, on the wet tyres. And maybe if he does go to a wet race later on, you got yourself a bit of practice. And even if it's 1 lap or 2 laps, it's better than what the others have got, which is probably virtually nothing. But that lap time from Jarno Opmeer has got to be said. That was brilliant. He set his lap time after Tamashko, which we know the track was getting worse. I don't think it was much different, but it was definitely getting worse. To dunk 2 tenths on the entire field is absolutely mental. And I think we know Jarno also performs well in the wet. If you've got a wet Q3, I think my guess of Paul being Brendan Lee's probably not going to be probable, because Jarno, I think, probably will be unstoppable in that Q3 session.
Oh, you know what? Once we get into Q3, Nathan, I'll let you just, maybe see if you want to change your vote there. But you can actually look, as we're watching Isfan Pook coming out onto the circuit, you can see the standing water. That is when the wet tyre is the tyre that you need to be on, and Isfan Pook knows that, so he's just getting a little bit of wet practice out on circuit. I wonder, is that going to be hinting at some rain in the race where that blue wall tyre is going to be needed? These are little things to think about. Rumpedreño also coming out onto the circuit on a set of the wets. Freddie Rasmussen following suit as well. So all of these guys who are exiting the pit lane onto the circuit are on a set of that wet tyre as we watch Isfan Pook crawl his way through the S's section. It's a far cry from those high speeds of 250 plus kilometers per hour, whatever it was heading into that section last time by. We're a far cry from that, Nathan.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, the track is easily in the full wet conditions, and I think going down to turn 1, if it's full wet on the start, oh, hell, he's going to break loose. It's carnage in the dry. Never mind in the wet when you can barely see things. Half the drivers are struggling to brake in time. You've got to learn new braking zones as you go into it. It's going to be carnage. And I think we'll probably see a few people spun round at turn 1, because also the traction is absolutely gone from the car. We know drivers around here typically use a higher wing setup, but in the wet it still eliminates the fact that you're going to be, nice distraction. You're going to be absolutely struggling for traction the whole way. So we'll see what Isfan Pook can do. I don't think he's going to be improving on that. I don't think he's going to set even a representable lap. But maybe you can, just try and get yourself a bit more comfortable with these conditions. I think Ruben's actually just gone past Isfan to start a lap.
Yeah, Rumpedreño heading down in towards turn number 1. Let's ride on board with the Alpine. He's going to have a very rain-soaked visor. We'll see if he's able to hit that apex at turn number 1. Absolutely not. Rumpedreño sails around the outside like he's overtaking on lap number 36. But Rumpedreño trying to continue his way along this lap. No DRS down the Transera straight in towards turn number 4. Normally the braking zone at 100 meters. Ever so slightly before that, the clock has struck 0. No new laps can be started from this point onwards, so it's just Isfan Pook and Rumpedreño who are going to take towards the flag at the end of their runs. But Ruben is absolutely crawling through the second sector of this circuit. He will be eliminated from this session along with Istvan Pukki, Will Lewis, Unesh Azildrim and Tom Manley. Otis Lawrence, Brendan Lee, Alfie Butcher close to being knocked out, but they'll live to fight another day. But Nathan, as you touched on, Jarno Otmir's lap is absolutely incredible, being almost, I'll bring up the gap to the leaders. He's almost 2/10 clear of Tamas Gal, heading in towards Q3. I talked on momentum from last week. I think momentum from Q2 to Q3 really going to help Jarno Otmir to make that challenge for pole.
It will, and I think, on his day, Jano's got the pace to do it. He doesn't always fight for pole, but I think if it is wet, going in towards Q3, he's definitely got the pace to do so. But Tamashkal as well, he's also looked decently strong throughout Q1 and Q2, so we could see him also try and make a bit of a launch for pole. But at least my prediction will go through into Q3, obviously being Brendan Lee in 9th position. Couldn't really find much of an improvement, so we can't see what his pace is really like on the wet weather tyres. But we can see Istvan Pukki now heading back into the pits, and you can see the rain even worse there when you look at the view from the pit lane. As obviously, everyone has finished their sessions. So we'll go through towards Q3 shortly, and it'll be quite an interesting one. It's also nice to see lots of Philip Preschneider as well, yet again, going in towards that Q3.
Absolutely, and I've just lost a little bit of respect for Istvan Pukki, gained a little bit for Ruben Pedreño. Ruben decided to take to the flag, and he's been marked as completely finished. We have to now wait for Istvan Pukki to get his car serviced, wheeled back into the garage. There we go. We could have saved an extra 5 seconds, maybe even 10 with that one there. Only joking, of course. But heading in towards Q3, Jarno Otmir leading the way by almost 2/10 of a second. A sublime lap coming out from the Flying Dutchman ahead with Tamas Gal in P2, Alvaro Caraton in at 3rd, and what a lap time there from Philip Preschneider, 24.148 in P4. Great lap from him. Ishmael Fassi in P5, P6 for Freddie Anderson, 7th is Jake Benham, 8th Alfie Butcher, 9th Brendan Lee, Otis Lawrence in 10th, and being eliminated from qualifying, it's Istvan Pukki, Will Lewis, Ruben Pedreño, Unash Zildrim, and Tom Manley. Now, Nate. Apologies there, everyone. I put on the advert by mistake, but heading in towards the final parts of qualifying, my prediction has unfortunately been eliminated in Will Lewis. You went with Brendan Lee. Now we know the top 10. Who are you going for? Are you going to stick to your guns and say Brendan Lee will take pole position, or are you going to go with someone else here?
Well, I think it's quite disrespectful to then change my mind. I said Brent at the start, and I'm going to go with it to the end. I definitely know the drivers that are probably capable more of getting that pole, but yeah, I'm going to stick with Brendan Lee. But actually, Dan, the weather's gone a little bit more dry again. It's gone back to winter weather. So now you bet the question is, does it go dry again? Otherwise, if that's the case, it has kind of thrown a bit of UK weather at us, hasn't it?
UK weather being absolutely unpredictable. Let's bring you back over then to the game scene, and we can have a look at the first drivers exiting the pit lane and onto their first runs of Q3. I believe Ishmael Fassi and Alvaro Caraton are the first ones out on circuit. Nathan, the pair of them on a set of the intermediate tyres. Already, I'm looking at the live chat. There are so many predictions for Jarno Otmir to take pole position. Rico says the GOAT, Jarno Otmir. Check Mapping says Jarno or Preschneider. I like that prediction there. Andrew Hornigold always sticking to his guns with Jarno Otmir to take pole position. AFC Razor going a different way, saying Benham on pole position there. Pfizer Soze also says Jake, Super Jake. So, only a few predictions. Let us know, everyone, who you are going for in the poll that has just been enacted in the live chat. Your options are Jarno, Freddie, Otis, or other. And if you're saying other, you got to let us know in the live chat. I'm seeing a call for Alfie Butcher in there as well. Jarno Otmir, Philip, lots of different predictions. Nathan, Q3, 10 minutes left to go, 10 drivers, only one of them's taking pole.
Indeed, and obviously you said yours got knocked out in Q2, so you've got to say now, who do you think will be your prediction, Dan? I'll give you another one, but there's 10 different drives for you to choose from now.
Yeah, Will Lewis let me down, unfortunately. It's very rare that he does that, but I'll have some words with him after the stream. But I don't like to go with the obvious option being Jarno Otmir. I'll go to the other side of the Mercedes garage. I'll say Jake Benham to take pole position there. I don't want the easiest one. Maybe Jake is going to have a good end to qualifying. Maybe Jarno Otmir is going to make a mistake. We'll have to wait and see. Ishmael Fassi deciding to come back into the pit lane. Very interesting there. I'm wondering, are those intermediate tyres not really up to standard anymore? Tamas Gal and Alfie Butcher, both of them exiting onto the circuit on a set of the intermediates. So very interested to see that Ismail Fassi is back into the pit lane, but Alvaro Caraton getting his run underway.
Yeah, we'll see what Alvaro could do on this opening lap here in the Q3 session, heading down towards turn 1, obviously this time without DRS, with it being a wet track, in towards turn 1, braking just after that 100-metre ball, throw the car in, down to third gear. You can see him sliding around on the entry, lock up the rears a little bit as he comes through, in towards turns 2 and turn 3, back on the power as he heads now down in towards turn 4, yet again, normally where you get some DRS, obviously in the wet weather you do not, into the brakes and braking around that 100-metre board, just throwing the car in down to third gear. Once again, you can see, struggling under the brake, trying to hold on for dear life as he heads in towards turn 4. It will be purple for that first set. Obviously, he's the only one to set one just yet. As he heads down towards turn 6 at the double right-hander, back on the power on the exit in towards the S's down, where you really struggle. This is going to be horrible for drivers in the wet weather.
Yeah, Alvaro Caraton, to be fair to him though, is looking quite confident. He's hitting all of his apexes as he flies through this, maybe not flies, maybe just walks a little bit through the second sector S's section, but he's actually looking pretty damn confident as he approaches now the final sector. This should be an easier part of the circuit. It's not very quick, but he, oh dear, goes a little bit deep off the exit of that corner, now taking to the stadium section where you can see all of the changing banners along the side of the grandstand there, advertising our sponsors at GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre. Alvaro Caraton now through the final corner. We'll see what the benchmark is for the drivers in this session. 27.0, considerably slower than what we've seen so far this session. Safe to say that rain is here to stay, Nathan.
It is indeed. As we can see Philip Presneda coming through out of the final corners. We'll see what he can do on his opening lap. Will he be able to go up towards that provisional pole spot as he heads up towards the line? Goes into second there with the 27.120. Got a few more cars coming through. Tamas Gel's let off on his lap, but Jake Benham down coming very hot through towards turn 12. We'll see if he can look for a provisional pole. He's been looking so strong so far with a 103.9 in that middle sector.
Yeah, purple for Jake Benham as he now takes to the third sector of this circuit, where we could see some side-by-side action on a place where drivers shouldn't go side by side. Jake Benham then off the exit of the final corner he goes. We'll see what lap time he's able to muster at the minute to 27.0, the quickest time. What a lap coming out from the All-Star there, a 1 minute 26.301. That is going to be a difficult lap to beat.
Indeed, as we can see, Alfie Butcher also lifting off on his lap, so he won't get a good lap on the board. Obviously, Tamas Gal invalidated. We've got Motis Lance coming through. He's gone purple in the first sector on my screens at least. He's heading now down in towards turn 6, back on the power as he exits down in towards the S's section. We'll see if he can try and muster himself up for a provisional pole. We know he's very quick in qualifying. In the wet, though, it's a little bit different. We can see some drivers who aren't normally looking for pole to be fighting for it. Obviously, so far we can see Jake Benham with a decent lap ahead of Alvaro Caraton and Philip Presneda, and we'll see as well if the track started to dry out. We'll see what Otis can do in that middle sector. This will be a 103.7. That looks to be 2 tenths quicker. So the track, Dan, is really starting to heat up now and get a little bit more comfortable for the drivers to take onto the track.
Yeah, barring any mistake, Otis Lawrence should be able to take provisional pole position. Not had many shouts in regards for the pole position poll. He only got 5% of the votes out of 303 that were casted, but for the time being, a 1 minute 25.716. That is the time to beat for all these guys in this session. It's going to be a very tricky one there. Freddie Anderson invalid on his lap time. Jan Otmar purple in that first sector though. I wonder, is the Dutchman potentially going to be taking the challenge to Otis Lawrence? Plenty of drivers on their laps just doing multiple runs in a row, but we got to watch out for the Flying Dutchman, the championship leader, Jarno Otmar.
Indeed, the lap times are coming down because Jake Benham was up by half a second on that run that he was coming back into the pits with. So we know the track's getting better. I'm on board with Brendan Lee just coming through the final corner. We'll see what he can set on the walk. And he put himself up towards where I predict him to be on that pole position out of the final corner, up towards the line. I don't think it will be pole, but it will be P2 for the time being with the 26.071. We've got Ishmael Fassi to the top as Tamas Gal into the wall nearly at turn 12. Broke very late and luckily escaped the barriers as Jan Otmar comes through. Where will he go? He goes up to provisional pole.
1 minute 24.953 from Jan Otmar there. That is sublime, blowing everyone out of the water. A fantastic lap time coming out from the Flying Dutchman there, who is really, realistically, going to be able to challenge that lap. Ishmael Fassi and Otis Lawrence are going to do their best to try and close to that one there, but it'd be very difficult. Alvaro Caraton makes it a Williams 2 and 3 with a 25.335. A great lap time out from him there. What about Otis Lawrence? Invalid on his run where he was up by just about 3.5 tenths of a second. So Nathan, safe to say, with 5 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, and qualifying in general, seems like times are getting quicker.
And it seems that it could be, kind of the last one to cross the line takes pole, as Freddie Rasmussen entering back into the bits. He set his first lap, invalidated. His second lap is also invalidated. So not looking too strong here for Freddie Rasmussen in this Q3 session so far. But of course, the lap times are flying down. We could see anyone take pole, I think, here in this session at the moment. Obviously, I said Tamas Gal broke a little bit too late in towards turn 12. So it shows as well the drivers are starting to get a bit more confidence in their cars and in their driving in this Q3 stage. We know the track's getting quicker. I don't think it'll stop raining. I don't think we're going to go to soft. But I think we could get close to the crossover point because the track's getting dry every lap. You can see a dry line starting to form in some of the corners, especially as I watch Yana may come through in towards a peril tunnel. You can see a bit more of a drier area on that racing line as he comes through. So, yeah, I think at this point anyone could go for pole, which is why, whoever you predict, anyone's kind of on an equal playing field now, aren't they?
Jan Otmar into the pit lane, I assume soon to be followed by Alvaro Caraton. But Jan Otmar, how about that lap time from him there? Almost 4 tenths clear of anyone else on the grid. Absolutely unprecedented level of dominance in qualifying from him around a circuit that he likes in the conditions that favour his driving style. You gotta say, Jan Otmar, he is going to be hard pressed to be beaten here this evening. We've got 3.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. Jan Otmar in that poll that we had about, what, 75% of the votes, if I'm not mistaken, which is one of the highest margins that we have ever seen here in PSGL. We'll have to wait and see how does this affect the rest of the grid in terms of their confidence, knowing how quick Jarno is. Is he already a lock for pole? 3 minutes to go, and we're just waiting for the final runs to begin.
Indeed, and that's what, 4 tenths to P2. It's nearly a second to P4. I think even if he can't find an improvement, he's still going to be looking for a top 5, top 16 qualifying. So yeah, Jarno, definitely the odds for him in terms of getting that pole position. We can see a few cars heading out. We've got one of the AlphaTauris, that'll be Tamas Gal heading out to circuit. Hasn't got a lap time on the board just yet. Got Freddie Rasmussen as well, who also hasn't got a lap time on the board. So a lot of pressure on those two as well to get some decent laps. Alfie Butcher on that 1 minute 40 shows he didn't set a representative lap time either. So those three, Dan, are still very quick drivers in qualifying. Those could also try and upset that front, that order at the top, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Heading now, getting these laps, these out laps started for the final time in qualifying. If you haven't got your prediction in already, I mean, you've left it very late here, but we're only really gonna give you half credits if you are right. But Jan Otmar will be the last one out on circuit, aside from Jake Benham, who's just making his way out onto the track now. 5-place grid penalty for Ismail Fassi. We're gonna have that lobby restart anyways, and we'll see how this race pans out. But Tamas Gal, the first one out on circuit. I'd say there's pros and cons to doing that, especially in the intermediate conditions, Nathan. He's going to have all the clear air in the world, but being further along than everyone else, if the rain is getting better and it's getting a little bit lighter, the track should be improving. Maybe he's not going to have the easiest time paving the way for all these other drivers. We'll have to wait and see. Tamas Gal, we know how quick he is in qualifying. Without a lap on the board, he really is, I've got to say, the wild card coming into the final parts of this session.
He definitely is. I think he really needs to try and get, a decent lap on the board now. Obviously coming down in towards turn 12. 1 minute left to go in this session. So this is kind of the final runs now. Getting ready to be done, and lots of, I think Jake Benham will get through, or whichever Mercedes at the back will get through to set a lap, but they've got to make sure to get a move on, as they can't really afford to kind of just sit around and chill. They're going to get on with it because there's little time left in this session to begin their laps. Tamas Gal coming through in towards the Forosol, then he'll go down in towards the Peril Tardo, and we'll see what he can do as he heads down towards turn 1. The rain started to slow down even more now. You can see it's on a little bit of droplets coming down onto the circuit, but the track's still very slippery, still very damp and wet as he heads out the final corner to begin this final run. As he heads down towards turn 1, we'll see what he can do. Obviously no DRS at all dead to here, so your top speed is significantly lower, also with the fact you carry less speed on the exit heading down to turn 1, so we'll hit around 310 as he goes into braking zone for turn 1. And here, Dan, he's got to nail these apexes.
Yeah, 310 kilometers per hour for Tamas Gal as he hits that braking zone at turn number 1. It is now or never for him. He's got to get this lap perfect. The pressure is higher for him than anyone else on this grid, barring Freddie Rasmussen, another driver without a lap time on the board. Tamas Gal, a 30.897 in that first sector. He is purple for the time being, but there is 9 other hungry drivers looking to snatch that purple sector 1 off of him, as now in towards sector 2 for the final time time in qualifying. Tamas Gal looking to lay it all on the line as he approaches turn number 7, as he just tiptoes his way through this section. Be careful not to invalidate like we've seen multiple other drivers do. As a slight correction through turn number 9, it looks to be all good for Tamas Gal. A little bit touch and go as to whether or not he's lost a bit of time through there, but appearing purple in sector 2, Tamas Gal could be a shout for pole position here.
He could, as he comes through now out of the Forestall in towards the Peril Tide. A bit of a scruffy lap here from the Hungarian, but then again, these are very unideal conditions. You've got little time to adapt to them out. The final corner now, what can Tamas Gal do? Can he go towards pole position? He spins on the line, and he does go to the top with a 24.4, but that was nearly ending in his session into the wall. We've got a few more cars coming through. Alfie Butcher on a brilliant that time himself here, Dan.
Yeah, style points for Tamas Gal there, but it's on pole position for the time being. Alfie Butcher to the line though, 24.392. Great lap time coming out from the Haas on provisional pole, but Brendan Lee up next across the line. It's only P3 for the time being for him. Freddie Rasmussen up next, a great lap from him there. What about Jarno Otmir to the line, a 1 minute 23.865, a great lap coming out from him there. Otis Lawrence in P3, Alvaro Caraton comes across the line in P4, and just like that, with the click of the fingers, a blink of the eye, and the laps are done. Jarno Otmir, it was never in doubt really, is on pole position, but the margins a lot finer than we've seen so far in this session. Jarno on pole ahead of Freddie Rasmussen in second, just 400ths separating P1 and P2. A big gap to Otis Lawrence in P3, lining up alongside Alvaro Caraton with his Williams teammate Ishmael Fassi starting in behind him there. Jake Benham, my prediction for pole, unfortunately only in P6. Alfie Butcher 7th, 8th is Tamas Gal, 9th Brendan Lee, and Philip Prejnader rounding out that top 10. But Nathan, I mean, you should have changed your prediction there. Jarno Otmir on pole position, but not by much. Gotta say, Freddie Rasmussen really did keep Jarno Otmir humble in this session. You gotta give credit to the Great Dane there, but the Flying Dutchman on pole position.
Indeed, and it seems yet again, Jarno pretty much unstoppable. I said that into Q3. If he was looking as strong as he was in Q2, he was going to take pole either way. And yeah, brilliant there from Jarno, of course. And obviously, Freddie in second, he's also been looking strong. So we could see him looking to try and take victory. We know sometimes starting P2 on this circuit or even P3 or 4 is better than being on pole. So maybe they'll get a decent run into turn 1 and try and get past Jarno Otmir, who they know will be a very strong force going in towards that 36 lap race, which you've got to speak about, Dan. It's 36 laps. It's a long time. It's a lot of laps going round. Surely we're going to see many DRS games happening towards that final corner for turn 1, because the advantage you get, if you can be 8 tenths back and still make a move into turn 4.
Yeah, and it's that double DRS zone. I mean, you don't actually need to make that move in towards turn number, or if you do get the move in towards turn number 1, you're going to have the resources to defend it. Lots to unpack from that qualifying session approaching the race, but join us after a quick word from our sponsors at GT Omega, and we'll see you in just a minute's time. Tell you what, those are some fantastic looking bucket seats there, coming out very soon for GT Omega. You can pre-order yours now. The link should be in the live chat. Get your GT Omega bucket seat. Absolutely beautiful looking things there. Really going to elevate your game there. 5% off if you use code PSGL in the at the checkout. But heading into this race, Nathan, as we approach the start of the Grand Prix, it is going to be a spectacular Mexican race that we are having here this evening. Jarno Otmir on pole ahead of Freddie Rasmussen, but as we alluded to earlier on, it might not be the best thing to start on pole position.
Yeah, that's true. I think also you got to think of some of the drivers further back who obviously got unlucky in Q1 and Q2. They could also look to make a bit of an appearance later on in towards the race. We know sometimes you go for an overcut, you go for a heavy undercut, you can really definitely work your way as well. It can either it can either make your race really good or really, really bad. So we'll see, who takes those different types of approaches. Obviously, Thomas Ronhard being down in P17, he's got to find a lot, I think, going into this race. I think his main thing possibly could be going to try a bit of a different strategy, I think, as he's got nothing to lose being down in P17. He might as well go a bit ambitious. But then apart from that, it's quite, you don't really know what's going to happen, because around this circuit you can see people from different places on the grid always win. So I think that's a good thing about Mexico. I think it's brilliant in that sense.
Yeah, starting at the front of the order is never a guarantee to finish there. So even though Jarno Otmir looked very good in qualifying, he's got to keep his wits about him, because there is 19 other drivers hunting that exact same thing, which is a win here at Mexico on Valentine's Day. 36 laps are about to approach it. Everyone is loading into the lobby now, and we should have a very exciting race ahead of us. But thinking about the weather heading into this one, dynamic conditions are being enabled for the race here, Nathan. That means we could see some rain. Mexico does sometimes like to provide some wet weather, like we just saw in qualifying. So I'm wondering, is it going to be dry, or are we going to see that wet once again make its way along that circuit?
Yeah, well, it's dynamic, isn't it? So we don't know what's going to happen, but I think at least the drivers have got some sense of how they're wet with the drives in case it goes in towards, a bit more of a wet race. But I think either way, it's going to be a spectacle to watch, with it being dry or with it being wet. I think the only issue we have with it being wet is sometimes it kind of eliminates people from making moves, as they all just sit behind each other. With the DRS, however, with it being such a long straight and so much overspeed, it kind of forces people to make a move. Sometimes they're sticking behind or moving that slipstream to get themselves, that cooler engine. But when there's 6-7 cars separated by a second down that long straight, you kind of force to make moves. Otherwise, you're just going to be overtaken by the whole grid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is just such a fun circuit, and there's so many places that we can see battling, so many opportunities for these drivers to go head to head in this race. If you are enjoying, make sure you do subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel and leave a like on the stream. We've got just 2,000 people watching at the minute on the YouTube side of things. Let me have a look at the Twitch. I've not really been paying too much attention to the Twitch chat this evening, but we see all of you watching on Twitch. Thank you so much for tuning in here this evening. Make sure you do drop a follow if you have not already. Nathan, heading into this race, let's think about that championship fight between Jarno Otmir and Thomas Ronhard. At the minute, Jarno Otmir leading the way on 58 points. He's 30. Wait, I don't know how many he's clear of. He's 21 points clear of Thomas Ronhard. That is a massive, massive gap, and if it stays like they are in this race, that means that heading into however many more races we have left in this season, Jarno Otmir, if he extends another 16 points already on that 21, it is going to be so difficult for Thomas Ronhard to take the fight to him in that championship hunt.
Indeed, and I think Thomas is just got to hope Jarno makes a mistake, because I think so far Jarno's looked unstoppable. But I think for Thomas's sake, he needs Jarno to make a mistake, or he needs to somehow get himself ahead of Jarno Otmir, which will be a very difficult task. But then again, Thomas Ronhard has proved against it before. He can do the task.
Whoa.
Put it, Dan.
Hello. Sorry, you just. Is my PC okay? Is the stream alright, everyone? Sorry, I think you just froze on my end. I thought my PC just died, Nathan. Sorry, apologies there. I think we missed out that last bit.
It might have been me, sorry. Well, I was working on it anyway, it doesn't matter.
That was scary, honestly. I was just sorting out my graphic settings. I changed one thing. I think I changed the anti-aliasing, and it just... and I thought I broke the stream. Luckily, we're still here, and luckily... I've disappeared? Nathan, I'm right here.
Oh, you're back.
Hello.
Oh, you're going back. You've gone, you come back. I'm going, Discord.
Discord. My best friend, I think, when it comes to PSGL. Funny thing is, I never have any issues with it outside of PSGL. Even in other leagues, it's always on a Wednesday night from 7 till 9. There's always some kind of issue. But Nathan, luckily... we're about to get ready for this race to start. Just waiting for Jake Benham to load into the lobby. 20 drivers hunting one goal, and that is to win this race. Jarno Otmir on pole ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. I think now is a good time to get our predictions in. Who are you going for to take on the podium?
Ooh, the top three.
Top three, yeah.
I'm gonna go Jarno, Freddie, Thomas.
Jarno, Freddie, Thomas. Okay, Thomas Ronhoff from 17th on the grid is Nathan's prediction. Let us know in the live chat who you are going for to take the win of this Grand Prix. And if you want, you can let us know who's finishing on the podium with that winner. But yeah, bringing you over to the lobby now, you can see little bit of cloud coverage here in Mexico. It doesn't look like it's raining at the minute, but Nathan, I wonder, are we going to see maybe some rain later on in this race?
Maybe, which I think could make it a lot more interesting, so we'll see. I think it'd be nice to get a bit of rain somewhere, maybe to kind of force that strategy change. But then again, I think when we ask for rain, we never get it. When we don't ask for it, we always get it.
Yeah, I mean, I always prefer it in qualifying to the race, but maybe a wet race here at Mexico could be fun. Let's read out some of your predictions. Already the first one I'm seeing is from JV Doka saying Jarno P20. I'm not too sure that's going to happen. Andrew Hornigold going with Otmir for the win. Check Mapping says Philip P3. I noticed that Check Mapping is a pretty good fan, a pretty big fan of Philip there. Let's go Brendan from AFC Razor. Andrew has actually changed his prediction to Otmir, Benham, Philip. There's loads of them coming out in the live chat now. Panchi says Danny Bereshne from P21 to take victory in this Grand Prix. Wow. Okay, very interesting as we continue along. Waiting for the race to start, Nathan. 36 laps of this Grand Prix. The fans going absolutely crazy, and I can't wait to get into it. Oh, here we go. And just as I say that, the lights are coming on. Jarno Otmir leading the way in towards turn at number 1 ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. We are underway here in Mexico, and Jarno Otmir off like a shot, heading in towards that first corner. Already, though, going to be feeling the pressure from Otis Lawrence in behind using all of that slipstream. Jarno Otmir covering off that inside line as they approach turn at number 1. Here they go around the outside. Otis Lawrence looking for the lead of the Grand Prix and takes it ahead of Jarno Otmir in towards now the Trans-Sierra Straight. There's a Williams and a Sauber car and a Red Bull going off in the background, but all in all, very, very clean start as they get their tyres dirty, scrapping further back behind.
As we can see as well, Alvaro Carton taking P3 on those medium tyres ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Freddie tries to hold it, can't do so. Now we've got Alfie Butcher on the softs looking to make some moves. He gets himself ahead of Ishmael Fazzi, who had a really good run down towards turn 1. Tamas Gal now into P7 ahead of Jake Benham, who's also had a bit of a decent start on his run. And we can see already lots of different tyres being used, softs, mediums and hards across the field. This could make the strategy very, very interesting. We can see cars looking to make moves everywhere. Tamas Gal looking to get ahead of ahead of Ishmael Fazzi, sorry, in towards turn 12. As we can see Alfie Butcher looking to get ahead of Freddie Rasmussen as well in towards turn 12. What has happened to Freddie? Very poor starts from the Great Dane so far. As we can see further back, that's Jake Benham making a send on Ishmael Fassi. Yeah,
Freddie Rasmussen from second position all the way down now into P5. Alvaro and Alfie, of course, on the quicker tyres. There's been a collision further back behind. That's Tom Manley going for a spin. I think Philip Preschnader was involved in something as well there. Tamas Gao going into P5. Here's Alfie Butcher looking for P3 ahead of Alvaro Carton. Easy move up the inside for the Haas man, and they'll make that move stick. Oh, Tamas Gao almost into the back of Alvaro Carton. There's a heart-in-mouth moment there for the Hungarian. He's come up unscathed, but Nathan very, very close to an early collision on lap number 2.
Definitely indeed. I think a lot of drivers have been close to collisions on lap number 2. As you can see as well, as Ishmael Fassi hitting the back of Freddie Rasmussen in towards turn number 5. Freddie's going to cut back to the outside if he can into turn 6. It's the inside for Ishmael Fassi. Can he get the move done? I think Freddie's going to hold it around the outside. Very nice there from Freddie Rasmussen to hold it as they head in towards the S's. Brilliant defence, and I think Ishmael though just got it on the exit ahead of Rasmussen, who's now down to P7 in this race. But now we've got Alfie Butcher looking to hunt down on Jarno Otmir, who's sitting in P2. And Alfie's got a brilliant exit. He's used pretty much all his battery. Goes to the inside of the Flying Dutchman. Can he take P2 before the break zone? Yes, he can. Alfie Butcher now into P2, but Dan has used, what, 80% of his battery already on 2 laps.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very bold strategy coming out there from Alfie Butcher. He's really putting all of his eggs in one basket. Jake Benham already with a time penalty. Brendan Lee, something happened with the 2-time esports champion. He has dropped tumbling down the order as a Ferrari coming into the pit lane of Istvan Pukki. Maybe a little bit of contact between him and Brendan there. Istvan actually going to retire from this race. So already we have got one driver out of the Grand Prix. DRS has now been enabled. They're going to get their first taste of that. Heading in towards turn number 12 down the Recta Della Valle. But for the time being, Otis Lawrence still leading the way ahead of Alfie Butcher, who has made up how many places? Made up 5 spots in just 3 laps here.
Indeed, and Istvan Pukki's demise back again. It seems every race he either gets into an instant has to retire or he gets a DNF. So a big shame for Istvan Pukki to be out of this race. Obviously last week in E-Series he was also retired after a collision on lap 2 with someone. Obviously that was around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. So yet again, Istvan definitely not enjoying his league racing at the moment. But we can see obviously Alfie Butcher looking to hunt down after the back of Otis Lawrence. 2-lap-old hards versus 2-lap-old softs there. So I think Alfie definitely has the advantage. But it depends if he wants to get past and get, try and gap out. But if he knows he can't, he'll just stick behind for that DRS, as we can see as well. Tamas Gal looking to gain in on the back of Alvaro Caraton. Obviously, Alvaro Caraton looking to gain in on the back of Jono Otmir. But Freddie, you can see, had a really trouble start. He started well down to turn 1, got caught up with the two Williamses, and then just dropped down position after position there down to P7, and also goes to be under pressure from Luke Smith and Jake Bennett very shortly, whereas Jono and Otis are kind of hold their own on these opening few laps, which is definitely showing good signs for them in this race, as we can see Alpha to the inside of Otis Johnson takes the lead, and there's a Red Bull retiring off the circuit. That would have been Tom Manley's car. Luckily getting known to contact. I thought for a second, what's Freddie doing there? But no, it was Tom Manley's retired car. And that could definitely cause some issues there.
Oh my god, it looked like they were 3 wide heading in towards turn number three there. Yeah, from Ulash and Jack's perspective. But for some reason, these cars just like to come back out onto the circuit, and instead of retiring in the pit lane and just staying there. No idea why they do it. For some reason, that has always been a thing that has bugged me in these EA games. But yeah, in all of that, Alfie Butcher taking the lead of the Grand Prix ahead of Otis Lawrence. I was interested to see that yellow flags were actually out on circuit, but he seemingly didn't have to give up that position. Nevertheless, Alfie leading the way ahead of Otis Lawrence. I think that's a smart move from Alfie there, because he needs to be on that set of the softs, and well, he is on that set of the softs, but he needs to make the most of them and try and use that advantage very early on, pull a gap to Otis Lawrence, and then pit early onto a set of the hards towards the end of this race.
Indeed, Jack. We'll see what he can do with the strategy. Looking quite nice for him indeed. And obviously Thomas Ronhart, I thought he tried something different, but no, he started on a set of the hards, and he's now into P14, so making a couple of positions, but not many as I think he would have liked to make, as they all head down to turn 1. Jono Otmir looking to take P2 ahead of Otis. Otis takes the lead ahead of Alfie. Jono 6 back into turn 1, so it's going to be Otis ahead of Alfie ahead of Jono as they head through towards turn 1, because he actually does Jono go through with on Alfie here to get himself back into P2. He's got some DRS to use. Alfie will have nil of DRS as they head down towards turn 4. We can see Jono to the inside line and takes P2 back here from Alfie, but Alfie holds it to the outside as they head through towards turn 4. Alfie's then got the inside at turn 5. They still go side by side, and still you can see Jono putting up a fight to these soft runners. There's a little bit of contact slightly, but Alfie still gets that P2 back. But soon, I think, Dan, there'll be a chance where Jono will easily get past those softs.
I like that defensive driving from Alfie Butcher there. Looked like he left him no space on the outside, and that's exactly what he did. But that was very clean, very fair, very minimal contact between the pair of them. Jono Otmir having to concede that position. He got close to making that move, as here comes Ismail Fassi down the inside of Tamas Gal, backing out at the very last minute. Seems like those softs already starting to lose some speed. There is Ismail Fassi later on the brakes and up the inside of Tamas Gal, adding to his collage, his myriad of beautiful masterpiece overtakes. He's still around the outside now, heading down that straight already. Tamas Gal losing a lot of time, and is going to be on the back foot heading in towards turn number 1. Little bit of battery usage, I believe, from the Hungarian there, and he will maintain that position for the time being. Meanwhile, here comes Jono Otmir looking to the outside line of Alfie Butcher, who's going to go back on the attack on Otis Lawrence. Jono Otmir getting very racy at this point in the Grand Prix. I wonder, as they head up a hill and towards turn number 4, is Alfie Butcher going to try and challenge Otis Lawrence here?
We'll see what he does into the braking zone. He always hits back for now. I think now it's, quite surprising to see, but these softs are looking to already start to drop off quite heavily, which is definitely not what they would have wanted. But we're only 6 laps into a 36-lap race, so obviously they're going to just try to put up with the pain for quite a few more laps until they can get themselves onto a set of mediums or hard tyres to take those to the end of this race. Alvaro Carlton looking to gain in on the back of Jono Otmir himself for P3, but just can't find an opportunity to make a move ahead. We can see Ismail Fassi still keen to get ahead of Tamas Gal, but yet again just can't find a move anywhere on the circuit. So I think he's just going to have to wait for Tamas Gal to make a mistake and get a move up the inside, or get a move around the outside of one of the corners in towards those heavy braking zones. But Freddie Rasmussen, you you can see Dan looking to kind of settle in a little bit more now in that P7, not really losing too many positions or time. He's comfortable where he is. I think his main thing now is just sticking behind, so when they pit, he's back up in towards that top 3 again.
Yeah, absolutely, as Tamas Gal really is struggling on his set of the softs. Here comes Ismail Fassi off the exit of the final corner at the Peril Tada. Is really no defense here from Tamas Gal, but heading down the straight, Jano Otmir meanwhile further up the order ahead of Alfie Butcher. They're 3 wide as Alvaro Caraton arriving onto the scene. Otis Lawrence covering off Alfie Butcher, 2 of them up the inside of the McLaren. Otis Lawrence going to now lose 3 places. Here comes Alvaro Caraton through and into the lead of the Grand Prix, heading on towards lap number 7. DRS enabled for the top 3. Otis Lawrence going to be feeling very, very hard done by. Here comes Jano Otmir, potentially looking up the inside. He'll maintain P2 for the time being. Otis Lawrence, meanwhile, looking around the outside of Alfie Butcher, who's not going to leave him all that much space. Heading in towards now the Horkila corner. Brilliant racing on lap number 7, Nathan.
Brilliant, and then you can see Alfie defending yet again brilliantly ahead of the McLaren, but what a move there from Alvaro Caraton. Looked for the opportunity, got it done in time. Absolutely superb from him. And now Ismail Fassi looking to get in on the back of Otis Lawrence here. He's got some brilliant pace to use on those mediums. He's dispatched Tamas Gal. Unfortunately, Jack West has left the session. Let's hope he can get himself back in shortly so he doesn't lose too much time off that main pack. But then we'll see what Ismail Fassi can do. Can he try and recreate a little bit of what his teammate did down into turn 1 yet again on lap 8 of 36? We can see as well Freddie Rasmussen looking to get in on the back of Tamas Gal. I think now, Dan, it's maybe the fact that the softs aren't dying. Just Tamas Gal is really, really struggling so far in this race. You can see, he's lost so much speed on the exit. Freddie's going to make a move before they even get the DRS down to turn 1.
And Otis Lawrence, meanwhile, going on the attack of another soft runner. Tamas Gal losing that position to Freddie Rasmussen. Here comes Otis Lawrence looking up the inside. Meanwhile, Jano Otmir going back into the lead of the Grand Prix, something he lost at the very beginning of this Grand Prix. Otis Lawrence and Alfie Butcher still side by side, and then a little bit of contact off the exit of the corner. In comes Ismail Fassi onto the grass, heading down in towards turn number 4. Wow, Ismail Fassi up the inside of Alfie Butcher, now looking for the move on Otis Lawrence. Is a job done for the Spaniard? He's got to stick it the long way round. In comes Alfie Butcher off the exit and making the move on Otis Lawrence. But Ismail Fassi, how about that trimming grass as he makes 2 moves into 1 corner? Sublime stuff from the artist there.
Well, the Williams team here not to mess around at all in this race. Absolutely brilliant from Alvaro and Ishmael to make opportunities of cars ahead, which definitely seem to be a little bit slow. But now we can see Otis looking through on Alfie to the inside at turn 12. He's running alongside. He breaks ahead and he gets himself into P4. Alfie going to try and fight back in towards the stadium. No, he sits back for now. Doesn't send the move at all, as we can see Freddie Rasmussen now looking to gain in and make a move ahead of Alfie Butcher as they head out now in towards the Peril Tada. But the 2 Williams is on the medium tyres, making them work brilliantly. And now Jano Otmir leading the way. He's kind of been quiet for the past few laps, just letting them all argue behind. He can easily nurse his tyres to take them a little bit longer than those like Otis and Freddie will, as we can see them all battling down to turn 1. We can see Alfie Butcher looking to gain in on the back of Otis. He's not going to find a move this time unless he makes a massive send. I noticed now he sits back for now, so I think the battling down has probably calmed down for a little bit, as we can see Jake Benham making a massive send in the line with Freddie Rasmussen. As I say, calm down. It got even worse as before.
What has happened there with Jake Benham? That was just a clumsy move. He completely cut the chicane there, or at least that first corner, and almost completely takes out Freddie Rasmussen. Freddie has lost a lot of time in all of that, and now has Rune Pedreño for company. But Jake Benham, what has he done there? That is a rookie error from Jake, and you gotta think, he is still young, but he's been a part of the league racing scene for so long. That is not a mistake that he should be making, and he'll pay the price for it. He's lost a number of positions. I wonder if Freddie is going to end up reporting that. I don't think there's too much damage really being caused to Freddie Rasmussen, but Ruben Pedreño also looking to now maybe pressure the back of the Red Bull driver. I think that was a very interesting call from Jake Benham to go up the inside like that. Not too sure what's happened.
I think he was looking for a move and kind of just, misjudged his braking zone. I think he actually got damaged because he hit Freddie quite hard on that front wing, and he's already lost a position too. Luke Smith, who's got a 1-second gap to Will Lewis, so I think definitely some damage could have been caused to Jake Benham's car. Big shame for the Mercedes driver, who's back into the pit, so it could be his race done and dusted, unless he just wants to see what he can get done towards the end. But Thomas Ronard making brilliant moves. He's into P8 already ahead of Tamas Gal, who's in P14 a lap ago. He's just been yet again a silent assassin, has now got himself comfortably into that top 10. We'll see now what he can do to try and challenge the flying Dutchman of Jano Otmir. I don't think there'll be much for him to do now, but towards the end of the race we could definitely see a spring of action from Thomas Ronard. As we can see though further ahead, we can see over Caraton looking to gain on the back of Jano, but I think definitely the carnage has died down for a bit. I said that last time we had carnage, but I think it's definitely, Dan, just for now, going to start to be a little bit more tame.
Yeah, it's been a while since the leaders have really had a battle. Jan Ortmir and Alvaro Carreton, they both snuck through a few laps ago. Ismail Fassi, the last time he made an overtake, he killed a whole colony of ants and probably a possum or something. And Otis Lawrence has been, his battle with Alfie Butcher has kind of subsided at this point. I think Alfie's tires are well and truly done. And that really does beg the question, why actually go onto a set of the soft compounder tyre? If you can't pull the gap, there's no real point because he's going to have to pit earlier, and that's not going to work out for him later on in this race. I wonder, will Alfie Butcher decide to call it quits on this set of the soft tyres? No, he's going to go for at least one more lap, hit the double digits, and continue along in this race. But you're definitely right, Nathan. At the front of the order, at the very least, the battling subsided.
Indeed, I think the good thing is, though, for Alfie is we can see actually Alvaro looking to make a move for the lead. He does make the move ahead of Jan Ortmir to take the lead. I think the good thing for Alfie is, though, the fact he can kind of just sit in and keep himself in that DRS train. Even though he's on worse tyres, he doesn't lose that much time. So I think he knows he can go a little bit longer, obviously, on that basis. If he lost DRS, I think he'd be pitting shortly. But he's got the DRS company. I think he can sit along in that P5. As we can see, obviously, Alvaro Carreton leading the way now ahead of Yano, ahead of Ishmael Fassi. That's brilliant for the Williams. He's there to kind of have a bit more control in this race. Obviously, Yano sitting in the middle of them, and then Otis Lawrence sitting just behind. So I think they know they've got, they can kind of work a lot now with that strategy. But the question is, though, Dan, do they go to the softs or do they go to the softs or the hards? Because they're in a bit of a weird situation, aren't they, on the medium tyres now?
Yeah, it's always an awkward one there, because when you look at it from one angle, you've got flexibility. You can go long and try for a set of the softs, or you can go into the hards, but then you're really in that territory of pushing the mediums too long or not getting the most out of them. So it's a fine line that both Alvaro Carreton and Ismail Fassi have to walk. But Nathan, you got to think that these guys are a lot more experienced than you and I when it comes to driving around in a sim rig, and of course they've actually been able to prep for this one. This wasn't a mystery round, although I do really love them. They've been able to prep all week for this race, so the strategy for those two maybe is something unlike we've ever seen here in PSGL, and it's certainly working for them for the time being. Alvaro Carreton and Ismail Fassi doing a very good job for Williams. 1 and 3, make that 2 and 3 as there goes Jan Ortmir back into the lead of the race.
Yeah, so I think Alvaro and Yano will just be swapping positions every single lap now if they need to, just to keep themselves with that DRS advantage ahead, and also not lose too much time to those behind who are also looking to be cashing up here in the field. We can see Ishmael Fassi closing into the back of his teammate, but obviously those two aren't going to battle at all. There's no point battling with your teammate in this race, and there's no point battling with anyone in this position anyway, because all you'll do is lose times. We can see Freddie Rasmussen gaining in on Alfie Butcher as they head in towards turn 6, and Freddie, I think we'll be looking to try and make a move soon. He's got a bit more pace here than Alfie, obviously, with those soft tyres becoming a little bit more, obviously having a little bit more wear. Obviously, I think we'll see Alfie probably pit within the next 5 or 6 laps. But Freddie will be looking to try and get past if he can. I don't think he'll fight for it, but I think he knows if he can get it down a straight, he'll pull to the inside and make a move. If not, there's no point. He'll just sit behind in that train. We can see further back, Tamas Scout losing more positions now to, obviously, Ron Harney will be looking to lose positions to Will Lewis, who's in the top 10. Brilliant there from Will Lewis in the start of this race. But you can see Udas Zildrum there down. They've completely lost track of this train here.
Yeah, well, P10 for Will Lewis means he's doubling his points tally in this race alone. So fair play to the McLaren driver, or the Williams reserve driver, actually, I should say, filling in for the absent Wilson Hughes here this evening. He's doing a very good job, as Alvaro Carreton doing an even better job down at the Williams camp. He will go up the inside of Jan Ortmir to take the lead once again in this Grand Prix. How about those Williams, though? Alvaro Carreton up 3 places in this race, starting in 4th. Ismail Fassi starting in 5th, up 2 in this Grand Prix. So it's nothing but green for these guys as they head now on lap number 13 of 36. Can you believe, Nathan, we're only a third of the way through in this Grand Prix as this race continues along. The cloud coverage still heavier than ever. I'm wondering, are we going to see some rain at any point in this Grand Prix? Doesn't look like it for the time being, but you never know, especially in those last few laps. Maybe some droplets of rain could disrupt the action.
Indeed, I think if it does rain, that kind of makes us know why those drivers probably chose the mediums and the softs. But if not, then I think it's a bit like, they're just trying to try something a bit different. Because I think we all know that stuff on the hards, especially here, is probably the most, the most optimal thing to do. But that's why most drivers have done it here. So we'll see what that strategy promotes in this race. But we can see yet again they're all gaining into each other in towards the Farrell Soul section. But yet again, no moves being made. They're all just following each other in a line, using that DRS to their advantage, not trying to burn their tyres out too much as they head back down towards turn 1. We can see, of course, further back, Alfie Butcher still comfortable on those softs, even though they're 13 laps old. He's still in that DRS, as we can see. Tamás Gal actually has crucially lost it, which really helps Tom Horoziano takes the lead into turn 1 to pop him back ahead of the Williams and make it yet again a 2-3 for the Williams team. But obviously going 13 up on those mediums, the Williams will probably be thinking shortly about making a bit of a pit stop here.
Yeah, I think the pit stops are coming very soon. This is typically what happens when we get into the mid-teens of any given race. It's that the action does begin to die off ever so slightly when we're getting towards those pit stop areas. But once they come into the pits and have fresh rubber strapped onto their cars, we should see some fantastic battling heading in towards the last half of this Grand Prix. Still at this point, Jan Ortmeier leading the way ahead of Alvaro Caraton. Ismail Fassi running in at third. A good day at the office for Williams, as previously mentioned, of course. Otis Lawrence and Alfie Butcher, they've not really done all too much battling in recent laps. And shout out, actually, to Alfie Butcher, Nathan. 13 laps on these mediums. Really, in the next 1 or 2 laps, I'd expect him to come into the pits. But Tamás Gal and Luke Smith, to their credit as well, also sticking it out on this set of the tyres. But you got to think Alfie Butcher is the only one that has really been able to make them work like he has. He's still in the train and he's made up 2 spots in this Grand Prix. It's going to be difficult later on to finish this one, as Tamás Gal is deciding to box to take off that set of the softs. It's going to be difficult for Alfie to challenge all the drivers around him who are going to have fresher, softer sets of tyres, but maybe, just maybe, he's going to make it work.
Indeed, I think he's shown brilliant pace, and he was able to defend from those on hards when he was on those worn softs. So I think he knows he's got the pace to do so. It's just what he can do with the tyres once he gets that pit stop underway. We can see Freddie Rasmussen looking to gain in a bit more now on the back of Alfie Butcher, who's about 6/10 back from Otis. So we can see him starting to slowly lose a little bit more time every lap now to the back of the McLaren, who then again, he's also looking comfortably on the front of Ismail and Alvaro. Obviously, we'll see in the next few laps those, so he'll probably start to drop off a little bit more as well. Once those medium tyres hit their drop-off stage, obviously the hards can go a little bit longer than the mediums and the softs, of course, in this race. We can see, obviously, Tamás Gal onto a set of mediums to take those to the end. So you're going to take them, what? Nearly 21 laps are going to take those medium tyres. That's quite a long way to take medium, so hopefully for him, he can make them work. But then again, Tamás has been in a bit of an odd situation, hasn't he? He didn't get a good start. He started to drop off quite quick from the rest of the pack. So I think he's just trying to clutch onto everything he can use now.
Yeah, the softs are well and truly dead at this point. Alfie Butcher losing a lot of time now to both Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen in front and behind. I think now is the time for Alfie to come into the pit lane, and indeed he is pulling off to the right hand side to take off that set of the soft compounder tyres and call it a day. I wonder what tyre he's going to opt for if you consider it. The softs went 16 laps in this race, 15 laps, 15 laps in this Grand Prix. The mediums are very viable towards the end of this Grand Prix, and there it is, Alfie Butcher onto a set of the mediums. We'll see how that works out for him as more battles are being had further back down the order. Interesting to see. Luke Smith is still on his set of the softs, not deciding to come into the pit lane just yet. He is a ways off of the top 10 at the moment, but fair play to him, sticking it out. 16 laps out of 36. It's a very long way for those softs to go. But Nathan, now I wonder, what is everyone else going to think to do? If you can go mediums to softs or soft to mediums, why even use the hard tyres? There's got to be something that these guys know that we don't.
Yeah, well, there's something there, unless it's maybe a bit of longevity, having a bit more of a, a comfortable race. I'm not sure at all, but obviously we know that obviously softs and mediums are tyres that people are still using. We can see obviously Alvaro and Ismail sitting in second and third. I think they'll go to a set of softs, surely. Medium soft to pit around lap 20. They can take those 16 laps. They'll be a bit dead at the end, but at least they're going to have that advantage once their stint begins. So we'll see what they do. But then those on the hards can probably pit a lot later, unless we can see it. So Alvaro going to pits now. Surely it's not going to be a set of softs. It's going to be hards, I think, here for Alvaro Caraton here in this race. So they head back down towards turn 1. We can see on obviously on the hard tyres, he should be looking for a set of softs, but then again, I don't know. I'm not, I'm not anywhere near the level of an engineer, so my point would be quite invalid either way as you see them head back into turn 1. But obviously hards as expected for Alvaro Caraton, with Brendan Lee also pitting off the hards onto a set of mediums quite early for him to be back in the pit lane.
Yeah, Brendan Lee's coming to the pit lane to take off his set of the hards before Luke Smith has come in to take off his set of the softs. Luke Smith still going very strong in this race. Alvaro Caraton, you got to think maybe he could have extended his stint ever so slightly and gone on to a set of the softs to end off this Grand Prix. Certainly would have been doable, but I guess if you consider it those tyres would have been absolutely dead towards the end of the race, and he really wouldn't have had any opportunity to fight with the likes of Jarno Otmir, Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen, who after a lap ago I've just discredited their strategy. I think now, just thinking about it, this is probably the way to go. Hards to the softs or the mediums, you've got the option to go towards the end of this race. Jarno Otmir doing a fantastic job of leading the way at the minute. Dylan Warren all over the rear of Luke Smith for P10 in this Grand Prix. Really, we're not seeing too many battles at this point, Nathan. But yeah, Freddie Rasmussen into the pits. A very interesting call from him off his set of the hards. Ishmael Fassi hanging in there on his set of the mediums.
Indeed, so Freddie looking to go for that, to get more comfortable, traditional hard to medium strategies. We can see Ishmael Fassi take the lead ahead of Jarno Otmir, and obviously Otis Lawrence still sitting in third. He's also been a bit quiet, and also, has there been an issue there for me, Dan, or have you also migrated host?
Yeah, have we lost Luke Smith from this session?
No.
Migrating the session's gone. I think session...
Oh.
Huh?
Oh. What? Okay. What has happened here then?
Why?
Oh no, F1 23. Why?
Right.
I think EA servers might have died because I can't get back at the session properly. It says the EA server is disconnected. Oh, EA, brilliant! Thank you, brilliant game. Well, is it 25% from here then? Because we're actually at the exact halfway point of the race. And yet, the servers have died because I can't get back into online.
Yeah,
Oh.
Wow. I think... I have no idea what's happened. Is it Steam that's died? I'm looking on the menus. It's saying retry connection. So I think EA might have just gone. Or something's happened or other. It says error, unable to connect to the EA servers. Please check your internet connection. Make sure the platform client is online and try again. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Brilliant. Well, maybe we see what to do.
I
think
Steam that's gone, I think.
Oh. Well, normally their maintenance is on a Tuesday. I know they have a maintenance on Tuesdays where the Steam servers go down a little bit, but yeah, not normally on a Wednesday. So that must be an issue for Steam itself. But brilliant.
Yeah.
But surely we're gonna have to have a 25% restart here, aren't we? Because I don't think we can give points up to lap 18 because half the people didn't pit yet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What are we gonna do? Surely it would be. What would we actually do? I have no idea.
I've not seen Connor peeping yet, so hopefully you can all
maybe Connor's
peeping and
Connor,
make a decision.
Yeah, if anyone
leaving the drivers to carry on, Dan.
If anyone in the chat has access to the PC F1 Discord server, make sure you give Connor a little ping and yeah. Yono Martins in the F1 chat is suggesting 25% restart from before people pit, which I actually think is probably the fair one. Let's consider this, as everyone is in the live chat. Let's consider this a red flag. We've red flagged the session for unexpected EA-ness. That doesn't sound very good at all. Steamness, not too sure. But yeah, I guess, wow. I'm not too sure what's going to happen from this point onwards, but I'm sure in the next 5 minutes or so, Nathan, we'll have an answer.
Yeah, it depends if the servers come back up. I think if they come back up soon, we could probably see us go back in towards a bit of a restart. But if not, I think maybe they could go away with getting half points before the pit stops. Obviously, for people who pitted it wouldn't be fair to give them nothing because they dropped to the back. So I think it probably would be to have a restart for, any decision would be before the pit stops. I know a couple of people saying that there should be a full restart, but I can't see us running another 18 laps of what would probably be nothing anyway. I know that Krypton says that they can't award points based on what was completed, so we wasn't actually at that halfway point. So it's a bit of a grey area. But luckily, I'm not a league director here, so I don't get the hate. We just sit here and watch it all unfold.
Yeah, lap 16 was the last completed lap, so essentially we haven't completed halfway. So that means we should be getting a full race restart, but I gotta say, I don't want to do that. I'm hungry. I want to eat dinner. I've not eaten yet, so well, I actually did. I did eat before, but still, I'm hungry. I want to eat. Brendan Lee's come in the live chat, by the way, and he's just said, I'm still driving. Brendan's still in there. somehow he's in the lobby. Steam has just completely gone down for me. I think yeah, that's what's happened. Steam has just completely died. I'm sure that we can hear from it on Twitter and whatnot. We're not too sure what's going to happen from this point onwards, but I think now is a good time to hear a quick word from our sponsors. So we will see you in just a minute's time. Welcome back, everyone, in the live chat as we're still dealing with some issues in this red flag period of time. We've got an ultimatum from Connor, and Connor has suggested if everyone wants to do 50% again with qualifying grid, we can. If not, cancelled entirely, and we forget Mexico. So that is being put to the drivers. At the minute, it seems like a few drivers not very excited to restart. I think maybe it's due to the qualifying grid and not actually where they were running in the race. But 25% is out of the picture, Nathan. Yeah. Because we wouldn't have completed the full race entirely. So it's either we head back into the 50% race from lap number 1 out of 36, or we cancel the race. So we're getting word from that now.
Yeah, the servers are back up my end at least, so I can get myself back in. But it depends what we want to do. I'm easy either way. It'd be fun to it'll be fun to go again near the end of the race, not the start, because the start was a little bit just following each other, going in circles. But yeah, I think we'll see what happens. I think it'd be a shame to cancel it though, because it could have been a really good end, and there were so many different strategies that could have worked there. And I think the only issue that this could put on drivers is the fact of now they know what the strategies people did. So some drivers might have to change it up so they don't get their strategy a little bit uncovered. And I suppose also it can be used as a bit of a practice start in a way. You got the first 16 laps, so you can tell how long the soft, mediums, hards go for, and then then we go. But it depends how many people want to drive though, because if maybe 5-6 people say no, I don't want to drive, then there'd be no point starting with 14 drivers. So we're going to hope every 20 drivers all say yeah, I'll do it, or maybe get some reserves in to jump in and go from the back of the grid. It's a situation that we don't come over very often, isn't it, Dan?
So if you're wondering why I was laughing, I want to read out a little funny interaction that was in the F1 chat. So of course, if we were to restart the race, essentially everyone will be allowed back in. Alfie Butcher has said Jake Benham has been rebooted, lads. And then Jan Ortman's come back in with Jake's gone to the gym probably. He ain't coming back. So, yeah.
Dan.
Hello.
Do you know what I think should happen here?
What?
So, listen, there might be drivers that might not want to race, so I think we should get a couple of people in their chat to commentate. I mean, you should jump into the cars, and we should take a seat, I think. Fill the grid up more.
I'm on a keyboard, so maybe not the you know what? Someone in the live chat can come commentate with me and Nathan. We'll just spectate you doing time trials or something. But I'm not too sure what's happening. Servers are back for most people. Servers are actually back for me as well. So, yeah, it's just a waiting game at this point. But if we're missing like however many drivers, we kind of do need as many as we can. And if there's plenty who don't want to, then what do we actually do from this point onwards? I'm still looking in the PSGL Discord, seeing if anything has changed. And apparently Connor, here it is. Connor has said, if the servers are back up, we will give it another go, provided there's a grid of 15 plus.
Okay. Ben, no, I'm not doing that. And then someone says we should play darts against each other. Well, I've got a dartboard, but I'm not setting the dartboard up now. Dan, do you play darts then, actually? I never asked you that before.
I played it at the pub a few times, but no.
You're very good, or you're bad like me?
I just chuck it. I just chuck it. Hope for the best. I would say I'm more into pool, but I'm also terrible at pool. So, really, what do I do at a pub? I just drink. I can't play any of the games. But yeah, what's happened at this point? I'm just waiting to see what's actually going on here, because no one is really. There's just like I'm seeing Wilson Hughes' hairline in there. John Evans is sending a bunch of pictures
from Will. Look at Will's message. Is that Benji Fisher commentating? I've been told to look like Benji Fisher before, but I don't know whether to say that as a compliment or an insult.
Is that the
I suppose at least I look like someone. Yeah.
Hang on one sec.
I don't actually know what he looks like, to be fair, but I've heard multiple people say I look like him. So I know I don't sound like him. Really?
I think so.
Oh no, let's have a look. Let's have a look on Google. This is not a good thing.
We're
Oh, see. Oh, I can actually see that a little bit. To be fair.
Yeah, a little bit.
Then again, I see it, and I can see Yana Martins for some reason in there. It looks a little bit like Yana to me. I don't know why, but he does.
Huh? As maybe that's
A very good Fortnite player.
Oh, sorry, Nathan. I think you cut out once again, and I've accidentally jumped in on you. So we've got Steam plaguing us today. We've got Discord plaguing us today. What's not going wrong, really? My game is plaguing me, by the way. Like, I for some reason it defaulted me to being on the absolute maximum settings, and that's why it was so horrible in Q1. Looks like
we've got a lobby.
Yeah, we do. I'm in the lobby now, and Connor is saying join new lobby, restart with qualifying grid and free tires. So Nathan, looks like we're going once again.
Indeed, and we'll see this time if we get any new drivers joining, because maybe some might reserve and join at the back, possibly. I think it was Wilson Hughes said he was going to join or something. I don't know though, but we'll see. So we might see a couple of new faces joining for the 25%, but I don't see that being much of a possibility. We've got 13 drivers in at the moment. Obviously, Thomas Ronald hasn't selected his car, so it looks like we've got some positive signs. But it's going to be a very late night for me. So I'm sorry to the neighbour who's going to hear me shouting for an extra half an hour than usual, but boo them, I suppose. It's not my issue. It's the Steam's issue. For once, it wasn't EA which caused the issue. So thank you, EA, for once, for being nice to us.
Yeah, we're getting a few people in. Unfortunately, Jake Benham isn't. He's not able to get in. It seems like a lot of people. We're kind of like 50-50, and it's Louis Welch's interest. He's made an interesting suggestion: 50% back to back next week. Not too sure what is deciding that move. 5 lappers, says Kryptonite. I think maybe we're having some people meme just a little bit, but yeah, we should have a clear picture of what is actually happening soon. We appreciate all of you in the live chat who are sticking through in these very uncertain times, but yeah, a few people are having problems getting back into the game. We have 15 people in the lobby at the minute. Thomas Ronhart still yet to select his car, and I think, yeah, we're getting back underway. So Nathan, the race before, effectively nothing's happened.
Yes, indeed, pretty much. And I think all we know is that the strategies were well, some of them are a bit odd, wasn't they? Obviously the soft tires, I think we know, might not be used again. I don't think they look the strongest. I think maybe Alfie could, but I think the others who used them probably didn't get the most out of them. So maybe we'll see more mediums and hards again, meaning we'll see even less overtakes at the start of the race. We don't know, but we'll see what happens. But then again, it's going to be, for lots of Alvaro and Ishmael, they're going to have to do everything they did again, by yet again making 3 and 4 overtakes into one corner again. So good luck to those guys.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. I'll bring us over to the game scene so you can see who is in the lobby right now. At the minute, Freddie has not been back into the session. It's just Tom Manley. Isfan's not able to get into the game, so it's just Dylan Warren. I think Jake is also having problems getting into the game, so Jarno Otmir is the lone Mercedes. Both Alpines have been able to get in, of Luke Smith and Rune Pedreño. Then McLarens of Otis Lawrence and Will Lewis, they are both able to get back in as well. Same for Thomas Ronhart and Brendan Lee. Who was it? Philip Presnader also having problems, not able to get back into the lobby. Alfie Butcher and Ulas Zildrim, they're all fine. Tamas Galben Shabakoni, all fine for them. Alvaro Cauton has just joined the lobby. We've now got 16 drivers racing here this evening. And Ishmael Fassi, he's had some very interesting things to say in the Discord. Nathan, I don't know if you caught that. I can't really talk about it all too much on stream, but we should be able to get in very soon. It's just about getting that grid sorted, and we'll finally get a race here.
I missed something. What did you say? Did I catch what?
Oh, don't worry about it. I think
No.
no, don't worry about it. But yeah, well, what else can we really talk about? The race before, it was a bit interesting, a little bit dull in places, and it's a bit of a shame that we're going to have to go back to lap number 1 to restart this one here this evening, because you know, normally at this point, this is actually probably, we're about lap 30, and so it's weird to feel like we're in the position that we are now.
Yep, indeed. So we're going to go again, and we'll see what can happen on the first lap. But then again, does that mean those who retired at the start have to stay retired, like Isfan Pookie? I presume they can carry on again, can't they?
I suppose so. Isfan has actually been able to get into the game, so it's all okay. And Jake Benham is now here as well. We've got 18 drivers on the grid. Freddie hasn't returned. And we're missing, who is it? We're missing Philip Presnader, who I guess still is having problems getting on to the game. But at the very worst, we're having 18 drivers. So I think, you know what, Nathan? There's 2 slots available for us. Why not?
Yes, I'll take the Aston, you can take the Red Bull.
I like the Red Bull. I don't mind that. But yeah, one thing also to note is that dynamic weather is on.
It's back.
Yeah, so we could.
If it's wet, oh
my god, we will be here all night. I'm starving at this point. I always get hungry during PSGL, so I need my food. I need my chow.
Yeah, I'm very hungry myself. It's making me even more hungry now, just sitting here waiting. So we've got dynamic weather. I mean, it could rain. We'd have a very long night if so, but I'm hoping it stays dry. But now we've said that, it's gonna easily become wet now, I think. I think that is definitely for sure. But yeah, 36 laps meant to go again. Yeah. Maybe George is glad he's ill now. He doesn't have to contact over 1.5 Mexican Grand Prix.
Maybe I should have pulled a sickie as well. And yeah. But you know what? If George is watching, I hope you're feeling okay. Fingers crossed we can get you back in here next week, so I don't have to be stuck with this Nathan fella for another PSGL race. But yeah, if you are watching George, if you tune in at any point and you see him, everyone in the live chat, make sure you do wish George Morgan a very quick recovery. I believe he's just got a bit of a flu at the minute, so yeah, he should be back next week. But poor guy, we're just waiting to get underway.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get underway soon, because we've got 18 in. I think we're just waiting on 2 more to get in, which would be Freddie, and it would be the Aston Martin, who would have been Philip Presnader, but obviously he had an issue, I think, earlier on. He couldn't get back onto scene, so maybe we could be going with just 18, I think, here. So either way, we're going to be in for an interesting race. But big shame for Freddie. He had a decent quali. It was looking like we could have thought he could win it, but he might not be racing now, so it could be no points for Freddie, when it could have easily been a 15, 10 point, 12 point for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the way it goes, and it's a real shame that these Steam issues have unfortunately ruined Freddie Razerson's race if he's not here, which is it's a real shame. Apparently someone's on Football Manager. Is that George on Football Manager? I think it might be. Maybe it's George.
Yeah.
George, fair, you know what? Fair play. If I could, I'd lie in bed play Football Manager, but actually I don't have it, so I don't know why I'd be saying that. I'd be playing Red Dead Redemption or something. Yeah, but we're still here. We're still here commentating for all of you on what is, at the minute, no action.
Yeah.
But we should be in very, very soon, Nathan. We are grasping at straws, trying to think of things to talk about.
We are, and we're still waiting on just Tibble to get in, and then hopefully once they're in, we can get underway with what I'm hoping is a good race. So I want an extra special race now for it to kind of give us payback for what's happened in the first race. But if we get another disconnection, I'm going to be far from happy for sure. But I think we're going to get underway shortly. We're going to wait for 2 more. And I think they're also just waiting for just double check. Because I know Coach just put in the settings here. One of the rules. So I think they're also deciding on what rule goes to what thing as well. So that could also be something. Connor said we can start if the grid's good. So if we can get away now, we can definitely go. So yes.
Well, so that actually looks like that we're going to have a front row of, who would it be? It'd be Otis and Jana Otmir. Of course, that means Otis Lawrence is not going to have any opportunities to go around the outside like he did the first time we had this race, as we're starting to get some people to ready up. So I think we're getting the word that, just no more waiting. Let's get into this.
Oh.
What's up?
We're waiting again.
Thank God.
It has just, I believe, during the session now.
Yep, someone's just got in. Who is it? Who is it? We'll name and shame whoever it is. Philip Presnader. I always hype you up, mate. And check mapping, don't worry, he is now in the lobby. So yeah. Wow. Cool. Absolutely cool. I think now, Nathan, it's a good time to talk to the live chat, because you know what? We've not really spoken to them all that much,
No.
and we have nothing else to talk about at the minute. How are you all doing today? What do you have for dinner? You make me and Nathan jealous. We've not been able to eat at the minute. We're just loading into the lobby now. But let me know what you all have for dinner. Nathan, what are you gonna have? Nothing. I guess.
That and that and
There
that
you go.
together, and just see what we end up with.
Sorry,
What are
mate.
you done? What are you having?
It'll-
You went.
It all froze again. Discord is really not your friend this evening. I heard nothing.
You didn't say hear anything I said, Joss.
Nothing you said.
Well, I said I'm gonna have a bit of a mix and match with different things to see what we end up coming up with. What are you gonna have, Dan?
Probably meatballs, because that is the only thing in my fridge.
Fair.
So
Apparently, that's Ben asked if this is how you riz.
what is that? How I riz?
know-
How I do what? Riz who?
You know what rizzing means?
Yeah, I know what rizzing means, but I didn't. I'm just.
I think he
asking.
was on about the way you asked the chat for what they had for dinner. I think he's saying, is that how you riz?
No, I'm just asking. I'm just trying to be friendly. Just trying to be friends with all of you. Wow, I'm seeing some lovely, lovely things in the live chat. By the way, it's making me very jealous. I'm seeing lasagna,
Fine.
nachos, pizza. So I saw Big C had a steak, which is really making me jealous. Burger and chips, chicken korma with onion bhajis, gammon. Ooh, you know what? That is making me hungry for some PSGL action. Let's head over to the game scene. Finally, we're getting some racing back on the circuits. The red flag is over, and the good Big C and Kryptonite have decided that it is best to restart this race from lap number 1 an hour later. So Nathan, here we go.
Wow. And I'm going to say, who did I say for win now? Who did I say? It was Yano, yes, Yano. And I couldn't say Freddie because Freddie's not here anymore. So it's going to be Yano, Otis, Thomas, I'm going to say now.
Hello, Otis, Thomas. Let us know, everyone in the live chat, who you think is going to be taking the win here this evening. You've already predicted it once. Make sure you predict it again. Here we go for the second time here this evening. It's Jan Ortmeier ahead of Otis Lawrence. And we are underway for the second time here in Mexico. Jan Ortmeier with a good start heading down in towards turn number 1. Alvaro Carreton in Ismail Fashy bringing up the rears. They head now in towards that braking zone. Jan Ortmeier covering off that inside line. Here comes Alvaro Carreton looking to squeeze his way in the middle. Jake Benham coming around the outside. Otis Lawrence taking the lead of the Grand Prix ahead of Jan Ortmeier, but he rides over the curbs on turn number 2, and Jan Ortmeier thrusted back into the lead as they head up the hill in towards turn number 4. Looks like Alvaro Carreton is arriving onto the scene, this time by Nathan. It's a much more scrappy start here this evening.
Indeed, contact there between Otis and Jarno. Otis now down to P5 after a bit of contact with Jarno Otmir, and towards that corner we can see now. Obviously, overall looking to get himself ahead of Jarno Otmir if he can, to try and stretch ahead. Obviously, Jake Benham as well. Very good stuff from him this time. P3 have also got an instant, and that's always Istvan Pukki again. Istvan Pukki around at the back of the field. That could be definitely his race done here tonight. Thomas Ronhart, Dan, already into P11.
Wow.
What a start there from Ronhart.
Yeah, great start from Thomas Ronhart. Here comes Alfie Butcher once again, battling it out with Otis Lawrence. Alfie on the soft compound tyres, looking to make his way up the order. He's already up 2 spots in this Grand Prix. Tamas Gao up the inside of Otis Lawrence, being brutalised after losing the lead on lap number 1. He was so close, on the precipice of taking that lead in towards turn number 2, but that slight mistake there has already demoted him down into P7. Will Lewis retiring in the pit lane. Ulash Zildrim also into the pits. I wonder if there was a bit of damage to the Haas car. Istvan Pukki, fair play to him, Nathan. Continue along.
Indeed, we can see over front of Jarno for P1 and P2. Jarno Hopsiker there at turn 2 could lose some speed. That could put Jake Benham on his rear as they head down to turn 4 again. And now we can see Jarno looking to try and find a move. Backs off. He knows he can't make it. So it's going to be Jake Benham to the inside of Jarno. Can he take the lead on this race? He goes into turn 4 ahead of Jarno. Jarno's going to try and hang around the outside. He can't do so there. That brings Ishmael Fassi into the battle, who has to back off a little bit into turn 6. Still Jarno this time, Dan, starting to lose positions in the race. And Alfie Butcher goes up the inside of Ishmael Fassi into turn 6.
Yeah, Alfie Butcher, of course, on that set of the softs, in a great position to make up spots early. He's all over the rear of Jarno Otmir with 2-step softer tyres. Should be an easy move for Alfie Butcher on the back of the Flying Dutchman. There is no DRS enabled until lap number 3. That's not going to plague Alfie Butcher whatsoever. Up now into 3rd position. Jarno Otmir demoted down into 4th position. The medium runners of Alvaro Carreton and Jake Benham controlling the race at the minute. There's Tamas Gao on the inside of Ishmael Fassi. Another position being lost in that braking zone. Tamas Gao loves to go late on the brakes through there, but Alvaro Carreton still in the way. Head of Jake Benham and Alfie Butcher's DRS now is enabled.
As they head back down towards turn 1, Tamas Gao to the inside, gets Bashy on Otmir into the brake zone of, well, before the brake zone of turn 1. We've got Dylan Warren now into the top 10, looking to fight on the back of Brendan Lee, who's looking to make a move ahead of Ruben Progenio. As Thomas Ronhart back into P11, this time ahead of Philip Presnay to Brendan Lee, into P8 ahead of Ruben Progenio. Nice move for him to get himself now comfortably into that top 10. He had a bit of a mishap on the opening laps last time. This time we're looking a little bit more comfortable on the race start. They head back down towards turn 4 once again. It's still over ahead of Jake, ahead of Alfie.
Oh.
Those on the softer compounds are just easily getting past those on the hards. We can see Ishmael Fassi looking to fight his way past Jarno, but couldn't get it quite done into turn 6 there.
Yeah, absolutely, as they continue along in this race. Look at the gap that has been formed between Otis Lawrence and Brendan Lee. 1.1 seconds separating the pair of them at the minute. And so Brendan Lee's not going to have any DRS. It means Dylan Warren is going to be all over the back of the Sauber car. Here's Ishmael Fassi on the rear of Jarno Otmir. This is the first taste of DRS the drivers are going to be getting all night this evening. And here, well, I guess for the second time in this race at least. Well, this evening. But yeah. Ishmael Fassi all over the rear of Jarno Otmir. Didn't do it towards turn number 12 as we take this beautiful helicopter shot now heading down in towards turn number 1. The DRS train, is that going to deter Ishmael Fassi for going for this move? Here he comes up the inside. This should be an easy move for him there, but Jarno Otmir is making it very, very difficult. Into the braking zone they go. Ishmael Fassi with that inside line. Can he go later on the brakes and try and make that position on Jarno Otmir? And it seems like Jarno has got the better of the young Williams driver. Great defending from the Flying Dutchman.
You can see there, you're obviously defending well in towards turn 1. Got that move back ahead of Ishmael Fassi as they head back down to turn 4. I'm sorry if I didn't miss anything there, Dan. You could say once again for me on Discord, so still having some issues there, but I think for now all is fine. We can see Otis Lawrence looking to gain in on the back of Ishmael Fassi as well as they head down to turn 6. Ishmael's going wide, and that's led Otis to nearly tap the back of him. Is that safety car?
Jack West?
Jack West is out.
Okay. Huh? Okay.
His car's continued.
What? Okay, so what has happened? Has Jack West crashed and retired on circuit?
Yeah.
And the safety car's been brought out. Alright then, safety car deployed on lap number 4. That's the first time in a while for this season. Wow, you'd expect it more often in Jeddah. But we didn't have any last time out in Saudi Arabia. So essentially now, Nathan, the race has been nullified. Safety car has been deployed for Jack West stricken Aston Martin. Now we're left with 17 runners in this Grand Prix. lots of action very early on. Are we going to see any pit stoppers? Indeed we will. Alvaro, Jake, all these guys into the pit lane. The Mercedes double stack means that Jan Ortmeier unfortunately can't come into the pit lane, and that is going to put the Dutchman on the back foot big time here, Nathan.
Indeed, it will be considered 2 Williams pitting there. That could definitely lose Ishmael Fassi's on positions. Obviously, his teammates in the pits. Oh, I don't think he's lost too much there, but he's lost a position or 2, I think, but definitely not too much. He's onto a set of softs. Ishmael Fassi onto a set of soft tyres, along with his teammate over a carrot on there. That's interesting there between those two.
Very, very bold from the 2 Williams drivers there and Philip Presnader to go on to that set of the softs. That all confirms a 2-stop race for these guys. So not too sure what really the thinking is for them there. Mediums is the general consensus, which I actually think probably is the smarter option. It, again, is a 2-stop race for these guys, I would say. They can take these mediums for a long time in this race. Only lap 5 at this point. And they can go maybe about 20 laps or so, be on lap number 25, not have all that much wear on them, given the fact we're going to run at least 2 laps under the safety car. Nathan, this is something that I don't think a lot of people really do consider. You're really not putting anywhere at all sat behind the safety car, so essentially these laps are going to become fresh. They're still going to be fresh, I should say, when the safety car comes in.
And I believe we've got our two times esports champions, Jono and Brendan, sitting 1st and 2nd here. So they're using their experience to think that maybe staying out was the right decision to do. Obviously, it could have been the fact that they would have been behind their teammates when they pitted, or maybe they want to just stick those tyres a little bit longer. So, yeah, very weird decision for those. Brand new soft tyres, obviously, all those behind then are on a set of mediums, so we'll see what they can do. But then again, do we see Jake Benham try and work into play to try and hold some of those behind? Maybe not lose time, but just try and make sure that Alvin and Tabash don't pass the Mercedes out on the hard tyres.
Very interesting way that this race is turning out. We do apologise for the Discord issues, but we are continuing along here this evening as Philip Presnader, interestingly enough, is back into the pit lane at the end of that lap. So he's going to be relegated to the rear of the field. Ulash Zildrum is getting actually a free in back into this Grand Prix. I think he's already pitted twice in this race. So fair play, Ulash. He's still trucking along here this evening. We've got 17 drivers left in the grid this evening. But you can see Jan Ortmeier, Brendan Lee leading the way for the time being. Alvaro Carreton is going to be rapid on at that set of the softs. And I think Jan Ortmeier, Brendan Lee, they are going to be sitting ducks in comparison to the field behind them. Jake Benham is going to do all he can to keep those medium runners and the soft runner of Ishmael Fassi in behind. And you got to think, Nathan, once this safety car comes back in on lap number 8, I would think, we're going to see pandemonium.
We are. It's going to be absolute carnage, because obviously we've got Ishmael Fassi trying to make some moves. We'll have all those on the mediums trying to make moves as well on those on the hards, and also Malvro making a move on the top 2 leaders. This could be carnage at the start. And surely those like Jake Benham, do you think Jake can go to the end off those tyres?
I think so, actually. I think Jake Benham is maybe trying to do a one-stop in this race. Is that going to work out? We don't know. I mean, if he can keep in the train, he's going to have a very decent advantage in terms of just where he is on circuit. He's going to have a lot of track position on his rivals. But Nathan, once they catch up to him, he's going to have no chance in hell of defending that position. So it's a big gamble, I'd say, for Jake Benham and Philip, who's trying to go to the end on his set of the hards. But if it works out, they're going to look like geniuses.
They will, so we'll see what they can do. Obviously, the safety car still has another lap, even though Ulash Zildjian did catch up in the end. So another lap of safety car, this time with everyone caught up, so there's nothing happening here at all. No one pitting or anything. They all continue on now for one extra lap. So we'll be restarting on lap 8 of 36, meaning them eventually going to take the tyres 28 laps in this race. I did see in the chat there a message from Ben Price saying that Hards can do 30 laps until a puncture.
Ooh, so Jake Benham is going to be walking a very, very fine line, considering the fact that it's 30 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We're going to be restarting with 29 laps towards the end of this race. Is that going to be enough for Jake Benham and Philip Presnader to survive to the end? Well, in 29 laps time, we are going to find out the answer to that question. Jan Ortmeier and Brendan Lee, they have to pit due to the fact they've not actually pit so far in this Grand Prix. Jano starting from pole, Brendan Lee starting all the way down in 8th position, pair of them, two of them combining for 4 esports championships. You gotta think maybe those two know something that the rest of the field doesn't know. I mean, the expertise does not lie. Unless they're getting a little bit old, maybe their memory's going ever so slightly. I think the pair of them in a great spot, maybe. Well, I don't know. We just don't know, Nathan.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think even the drivers are trying to guess. So if they're guessing what the strategy is going to be, there's no way in the world that we're going to even have a slight clue what strategy is the right way to go. But obviously we'll see all that unfold in like about 29 laps time as the safety car is in this lap and we can get underway very shortly. Obviously it's Jarno leading the way ahead of Brendan, and we'll see Alvaro probably, Dan, try and get the lead in the next, I'll probably say by the end of lap 1 surely. Yes. Well, lap 8 I should say.
Yeah, so it's Jarno Opmir's discretion. He will control the restart here. He's going to back up the field as much as he can. We'll see if he is able to keep Alvaro Carreton, Alfie Butcher, Tamas Gell, all these guys on the softs and medium tyres to the best degree that he can. Look at this beautiful camera angle, by the way, with all the PSGL sponsorship and GT Omega Sim Racing Centre played across the circuit. Is beautiful work from Josh Merrin and Byron Hale. But here we are now, getting ready to restart. We're watching Alvaro Carreton already chomping at the bit to make the move on Brendan Lee, using a little bit of the battery, heading down towards turn number 1. No DRS as they approach this first corner. Alvaro already drawing alongside the Sauber car. He's going to look for 2 into 1 as he goes later on the brakes up the inside of Jarno Opmir. Job done for Alvaro Carreton. Jarno Opmir really with no defence, and there is the Williams back into the lead of this race.
Yeah, brilliant there from Alvaro Carreton to get the lead now. Hopefully, lots of Jarno and Brendan will be holding all those behind me, and Alvaro could just try and fly off into the distance and make those soft tyres up. We can see Ishmael Fassi ahead of Otis Ronson towards turn 4 himself to get himself into P7. We can see further ahead lots of Tamas Gell for Butcher looking to hunt down on the back of Jake Benham, who's also looking to get himself ahead of Brendan Lee. Obviously, we can see already that's Alfie just pushing the Mercedes of Jake Benham through in towards turn 6. We know already that Jake, even though he's on the hard, is also a little bit slower in this point of the race, but it's all good to help hold up those for Jarno Opmir to try and push ahead. But you can see he's already lost a second into Alvaro Carreton. Those softs are absolutely flying so far, and the hards there for Brendan and Jarno might not be the best strategy here, as we can see Alfie Butcher looking for a move there on Jake Benham.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan Lee and Jarno Opmir, they have track position. They're going to do all they can to defend it as Ishmael Fassi looks around the outside of Tamas Gell on his set of the soft compound of tyres. Dubbed the artist for his incredible overtaking moves. Seems like he's not been able to find it this time by, but will be all over the rear of Tamas Gell in the next few laps or so. Here's Jake Benham on the rear of Brendan Lee. They'll fan out like a peacock in towards this first corner, 3 wide in towards turn number 1. Jarno Opmir going to fall back into the wheel tracks of the Sauber car. Meanwhile, further back behind, you see Ishmael Fassi looking very deep up the inside. Jake Benham has made the move for second place in this Grand Prix. Ishmael Fassi, meanwhile, is through on Tamas Gell. Some great battling at the beginning of lap number 9.
Indeed, because Tamas Gell trying to defend from Otis Ronson into turn 4. Otis to the outside there of the AlphaTauri. He gets the move done halfway into turn 5. Now gets to the inside of Ishmael Fassi, has to back out a little bit there. That lays Tamas back to the outside. A bit of contact between the two as they head in towards turn 6. Tamas Gell all the way around the outside. Gets a little bit pushed wide by Otis Lawrence there. Off the track goes Tamas Gell. Lays it and wants to try and catch up now, who's also had a very good restart. We can see Alfie Butcher at the front line looking to get ahead of Jarno Opmir. Jarno's had a bit of a mistake. He's lost a hell of time as they come through towards that middle sector. Surely now Jarno and Brendan are going to eat it up by the field, because the gap's coming down so much every single corner.
Jarno's using a little bit of the battery to try and defend from Alfie Butcher. Alfie knows this and decides not to deplete any of his resources, and so heading on to the next lap with DRS enabled, will Alfie Butcher go for this move, or will he have to defend from Ishmael Fassi in behind? Sorry, DRS not enabled at this point. They're going to get their first taste of it heading down in towards turn number 12. Alfie Butcher, that's not going to affect him, however, as Jarno Opmir actually beginning to pull away. I wonder, is that to do with the setup, or is Jarno Opmir using a little bit of battery to defend and maybe try and go on the attack of Brendan Lee, who in his own right is looking for an attack on Jake Benham, but it's all remaining level at the front of the order. Meanwhile, further back behind, Rim Pedreño all over the rear of Dylan Warren. Some great battling throughout the entirety of this Grand Prix. Already on lap number 10, Nathan. It feels like it's going by a lot quicker than it was before. We're almost at the point that we were before this race actually, died.
Indeed, and we had a safety car on that as well, as we can see Ishmael Fassi lose position to Otis Lawrence there as they head in towards the SC section. Ishmael's back up the inside, bit of contact until on the entry of the corner, I believe, and it's still going to be the Williams back ahead now. Into P6 goes Ishmael Fassi, looking to gain in on the back of Alfie Butcher, who yet again looking to make moves ahead of Jarno Opmir. Couldn't get it done last time. Can he get it done this time there to turn 12? No. has to back off at this point. Isn't keen to make the move. You can see at the front, Alvaro Carreton has got a 2.6 second lead ahead of Jake Benham, who obviously is keeping lots of Brendan Yono in that DRS, so they can all be pulled along as they all head out of the peril tide back down towards turn 1. Surely Alfie Butcher this time going to be looking for a move ahead of Flying Dutchman. He's got a good exit. He's got that battery being used, but yet again Yano's pulling away on the straights. Yano must have a bit more of a lower wing setup compared to Alfie Butcher here.
Yeah, as Alfie Butcher really cannot get close to Jano Otmir whatsoever, and this actually could have been a great strategy from the Mercedes, who'll look to the inside now of Brendan Lee and towards turn at number 1. We saw Otis Lawrence darting to the inside. Ooh, a little bit of maybe a touch for Brendan Lee and Jano Otmir. That will allow for both Ismail Fassi and Alfie Butcher to go through on the Sauber car, and now is feeling the pressure from Otis Lawrence in behind. Alfie Butcher, meanwhile, doing battle with Ismail Fassi, who makes a move in his own right, and there it is, 3 wide in towards turn number 5. Brendan Lee looking around the outside. He has to take to that little escape road to the left-hand side, and he is going to remain now being tumbled down the order of this Sauber off the circuit. And to rub salt into the wounds, he's got a time penalty to bet. He has lost so many positions in the span of just a few corners. His teammate Thomas Ronnar makes that move into P8.
Indeed, you can see Brendan Lee pretty much like a moving chicane here at this point. We can see Dylan Warren ahead of the Sauber. We can see coming in behind Ruben Progenio looking for a move. Brendan makes contact with Dylan. Dylan goes off the circuit. Ruben goes up the inside of Brendan. Brendan breaks late, so Ruben can't make the move there. Dylan Warren, a little bit of a push there to Brendan Lee. Brendan has to back out, and now we can see that's going to be US Zildjian making a move on the back of Brendan Lee. Bit of contact. Brendan Lee in the wall, a bit of more contact ahead at the corner, and this is a little bit like nearly repeat of what we saw a few seasons back in another league where we saw cars come into contact at the final corner. But Brendan Lee down to P13. Whew.
Brendan Lee he's being brutalised, being completely bullied by everyone on the circuit, like a little kid who's got the wrong type of shoes for football training at the end of a long school day. He's just still getting overtaken by everyone there. Istvan Pukki is now through. Brendan Lee has dropped down in the span of 1 lap from 3rd into 15th position. This is unprecedented level of bullying. He must have some sort of wing damage. Maybe it was in the contact with Jano Otmir, or maybe in the contact with Alfie Butcher. I'm just not too sure. He's now going to be plumb last in this Grand Prix because Philip Presnader is going on the attack. And there it is, Brendan Lee in the span of just 1.5 laps from 3rd down into 17th.
Yeah, he's got to have damage, surely, hasn't he, Dan? Because he's just, look at Yono, he's still in 3rd here, comfortably ahead of Ismail Fassi. So there must have been some damage there for Brendan Lee, unfortunately, which has cost him loads of positions, and cost him pretty much any points in this race. We can see as well, also coming through, we can see Ismail Fassi looking to try and get a move ahead of Yono. They head down to turn 1, obviously 8 tenths, 9 tenths of the gap between Jake and Yono. But actually, Yono could be in a bit of trouble here, losing to his teammate, which is definitely not ideal. Alvaro Carreton still charging away in front with a 3.3 second gap. Ishmael's gaining ahead with obviously Alfie Butcher as well. Can Ishmael make a move on Yono? He's not really keen to make a move either, is he? Because you would have thought he would have pushed, but no, he just sits behind the back of Yono for now, obviously leading all those behind with him.
Yeah, absolutely, as we're on lap number 13 of 36. We're a third of the way through in this Grand Prix. Alfie Butcher looking for a move potentially on Ismail Fassi, but I think they're all just fanning out to try and cool the car. So this is the point where we begin to see drivers start to settle into a rhythm. All of that battling, all the petty moves are over, and so we're going to start to see these guys look to maybe think long in this race. Shout out to Alvaro Carreton, by the way, in all of this battling and all of the trading and swapping positions. He has been able to amass a 3-second lead to Jake Benham at this point, and if everyone here is 2-stopping, Alvaro Carreton is going to be in a fantastic position to potentially take victory in this Grand Prix, as Otis Lawrence is all over the rear of Alfie Butcher once again. These two now finally on the same set of tyres. We've seen them, the pair of them, on hards and the mediums and the softs throughout this race. They're both now on the mediums, looking to do a very fair battle. But I've got to say, these two, Nathan, have kept me very, very engrossed.
Indeed, as we can see, look further down, we can see Tom Manley looking to make a move here on US Zildjian for P12. And I think the softs are at their stage again where they're starting to die off, as we can see Ismail Fassi make a move ahead of Yono, along with Alfie Butcher as well, inside of Yono into turn 1 they go, and also it's going to be Otis Lawrence looking for a move ahead. They go 3 wide, a bit of contact. Oh, no, bit of... Oh,
that's all
did
right.
you get...
there's a bit of lag here, Nathan, I think, as Thomas Ronhar is now through on Otis Lawrence in towards turn number 4. Tamash Gao is trying to have a look into this battle, and Jan Ortmir is losing a number of places. Nathan is unfortunately, I think, maybe lagged out of the session. Nathan, do let me know if you're still in the voice call, but I'm not too sure what's gone wrong. Still a plethora of issues plaguing us here this evening. Nathan, you're with me in the commentary box?
Oh, I've migrated host.
Oh dear. That's not a good sign. I'll
try and get back in. The game was lagging out, and then yeah, Discord's fine. It's just the game this time.
Okay, well, it's not Discord, says Big C. I think, Nathan, that might have been issues from you. Oh dear, I'm seeing some ghosting. I really hope that is not what I think it is. Dylan Warren is completely ghosted at this point. Nathan, if you're able to get back into the lobby, that's great. But for now, I'll take up the mantle, and in a few laps time, I'll send you an invite or something. If you're able to if you're not able to get back in, we'll turn our attention back over to the racing here. Jan Ortmir is up the inside of Dylan Warren, heading in towards turn number 1. And it seems like Yano, he's lost a number of places in this Grand Prix, and all of the confusion and chaos that has been the Mexico Grand Prix, not just this race, but on the whole, the entire stream. Seems like Yano has really been hard done by all the issues, as here he is back up the inside of Dylan Warren. He's in himself, having to defend from Ruben Pedreño, and has been forced off the road by the Ferrari car. Now, in comes Ruben up the inside, in towards turn number 6 and 7. It looks like Ruben is going to soar around the outside, and he'll make that move stick on Jan Ortmir. Nathan, I saw you're finally back in the session.
Yes, indeed. I thought there was an issue with the game for a second, because everyone ended up just moving out the way, and I couldn't see what was going on. But yeah, I'm back in, and we can obviously see moves being made. And Yano, last time I saw him, was in P4, so obviously he's just kind of had a bit of a Brendan Lee syndrome there, just dropping down the field. We can see further back Tom Manley looking to get in ahead of the Flying Dutchman as well. And the question is, what can Yano really do to fix this strategy here? Because he's in a bit of a weird situation now, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think it's just plainly down to bad luck, because he wasn't the leading Mercedes. He didn't have priority in the pit stops when they actually mattered, and I think if Yano was leading, he wouldn't have hesitated to come into the pit lane. He'd have taken it in a heartbeat, but unfortunately that's not the way that it's worked out. Jake Benham is doing a sublime job. Wow.
Manley! Oh, and he spun Dylan one round.
He
did a Jake Benham.
Oh, Tom, I looked away from that. Unfortunately, I went back up to the leaders, because Ishmael Fassi's all over the road. Jake Benham, as is Alfie Butcher. Dylan Warren's been spun around now, and here comes Istvan Pukki up the inside of Jan Ortmir.
Yeah, looking to make a move in towards turn 6 is Istvan Pukki. He's got the good running towards the inside, but Jana breaks later, keeps that move covered for now. But I'm sure soon Jana will be under pressure from Istvan, Bench, Luke, all behind, looking to try and make moves and get ahead of the Flying Dutchman, who's starting to hold them up now. We can see that gap being 7 tenths between Jano and Tom Manley already, going up towards 8 tenths as they head through and towards the SE section at turn 7 through towards turn 11. Obviously heading down towards turn 12 now. No opportunity for Istvan to make a move here, but he will obviously get it down towards turn number 1. We can see further ahead Ishmael Fassi looking to get on the back of Jake Benham as well for P2 in this race, and looking to hopefully for the Williams to try and make a hindrance at the Mercedes to try and keep that gap to over Caraton. Quite hard to give the Williams a good, to keep the Williams still with a good gap to those behind. We can see Istvan Pukki now with a no DRS for Jano here down towards turn 1. Istvan will have a decent run on the back of Jan Ortmir here. We can see further ahead after Butcher looking to move ahead of Ishmael Fassi. Ishmael takes P2 here.
Yeah, Ishmael Fassi through on Jake Benham, as is Alfie Butcher up the inside of the Mercedes. Jake Benham doing all he can to defend that position. Thomas Ronhar as well arriving onto the scene. It's been a great race for the Dutchmen. Oh wow, 3 wide. They fan out once again in towards turn number 4. Jake Benham almost making contact with the Dutchman. Thomas Ronhar going to be boxed in by Alfie Butcher, but he'll have that inside line for turn number 5, and it looks like Thomas Ronhar getting himself up into P4, but Jake Benham, don't forget, is on the hard tyres. He can last a little bit longer than these guys in the race, and as every lap passes on by, Nathan, Jake Benham is going to get quicker and quicker.
Indeed, and we'll see what Jake can do to try and fight back in this race. Obviously, we know he could probably go to the end on these tyres. We know that he will be at risk of a puncture, but can still make them to the end. Those on the mediums definitely will not be able to make it to the end on those set tyres. We can see further back, Otis Lawrence now looking for a move back, straight in towards turn 12 from making a move on Jake Benham. But obviously, Alfie Butcher and Thomas Ron, all those on the mediums, they'll probably be pitting in a few laps, trying to maybe go to a set of softs probably in this race, I think, to go from this here as they all fly out the final corner, and you can see Ismail Fassi into the pit lane now, so he's going to go early to probably a set of mediums.
Medium tyres should be the safe bet to go to the end of this race. Alvaro Caraton sticking it out though, as is Tamas Gallas actually as well into the pit lane. That is going to be, I'd say, for another set of the mediums towards the end of this race. Tom Manley through on Ruben Pedreño. Blood on his hands after spinning the fan favourite Dylan Warren, but he's continuing along in this race, and it looks like we're just waiting. Now we're waiting for everyone to come into the pit lane. Ishmael has gone into the mediums, as has Tamas Gao, and I'd assume everyone else, when they get the opportunity, will be doing the exact same thing, unless they've gone on to 2 sets of mediums, which off the top of my head, don't think that anyone has done in this race thus far. I think Jake was on the mediums. He's gone onto a set of the hards, so he can go into any tyre that he wants to end off this race. We're halfway through this time by, Nathan.
Indeed, I think we'll have medium soft and medium strategies here. And obviously, we've now got past where we was before, so we can hopefully hope that there's no more steam issues or EA issues now as we head down to turn 12. Otis Frost on the back of Jake Ben, looking to make a move for P4 in this race as he backs out once again on the back of the Mercedes. Obviously, Jake isn't as strong right now, but once those mediums have hit drop-off points, he will be a lot stronger. So we'll see him obviously come through in towards it near the end of this race. We can see as well that gap there between Alvaro and Alfie coming down lap by lap now. 1.7 seconds he's in the pits.
Alvaro Caraton into the pit lane at the end of lap number 19. That is to be expected for him there. So now Alfie Butcher leading this race, but it still has to pit in at this Grand Prix. Jake Benham, don't forget, could potentially go to the end of this Grand Prix, so expect that Mercedes to go as long as he can in this Grand Prix. Alfie Butcher leading the way ahead of Thomas Ronhard, Jake Benham in third, Otis Lawrence in fourth. It seems like that top 4 doing a fantastic job of leading the way. The 2 Williams cars have come out on the same piece of tarmac, and I think Ismail Fassi just about going to be ahead of his teammate, but the pair of them, Nathan, with the undercut strategy, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with towards the end of this race.
Indeed, and especially as they'll be working together, obviously the 2 Williamses, they'll definitely be able to try and team on some of the drivers and make easy moves and make, moves that might not be as easy, very easy. When you've got 2 cars behind you battling through, it's going to be very difficult to try and hold it off. As we can see further ahead, Otis Lawrence now looking to get ahead yet again of Jake Benham, but he just can't find the move at all. But this one is really close to the back of the Mercedes. Can he make a move this time around? No, stays behind at this point. So it's going to be Alfie Butcher leading Thomas Ronhar in this race. Obviously both of those took part of the RHG team, so we'll see they can try and muscle through together. Obviously Thomas Ron, I remember, starting P17 in the Sabre car, now up into P2. It's been a brilliant resurgence for the driver indeed, and we consider him into the pit. So it'll be Alfie, Thomas, Jake stays out, Otis into the pits, Ruben also stays out. So it'll be Jake leading, Ruben leading Isman Puka here in this race.
Now, is it going to be a set of the mediums, or is it going to be a set of the softs to the end for these guys? Otis Lawrence on a set of the mediums, as is Thomas Ronald. That seems to be the consensus option there, to go on to a set of the mediums to finish off this race. Seemingly the best option, as Ismail Fassi and Ulash Azildrim trade fastest laps for a minute there. Ismail is your net race leader in this Grand Prix. Alvaro Caraton in P2. That would mean Tamas Gal has done a good job to get himself up into a net P3. But of course, with all the pit stops still yet to come out, this race is ever unpredictable. Thomas Ronhart off the back of Alfie Butcher. Otis Lawrence running in 16th place at the minute, and Tom Manley has actually found his way now into the DRS range of some of the potential leaders by the end of this race.
Yeah, so we'll see what Tom Manley could do. It could be some points on the horizon for the Red Bull driver at this point in the race. We can see, though, further ahead, Jon Otmir still sticking it out with the likes of Istvan Pukki, Ruben Pedreño and Jake Benham, who lead the way, obviously, in this race. And Jana will probably come back into pits again soon. I think he will be looking for a set of softs here, wouldn't he, Dan? I think he's going to go a little bit longer and take a set of softs, because surely he's going to lose out even more if he goes on to a set of mediums, because then he's on a bit of an equal playing field to all those behind. He'd rather have a bit of an advantage to take them to the end.
Yeah, lap number 20 of 36. We are coming towards the end of this Grand Prix. The last few laps are ever approaching, and who is going to stay out? It seems like all of the medium runners may be looking to extend for a set of the softs towards the end of this race. They're going to lose track position to all those who have got the undercut, but they're going to be on the quicker, soft tyres. And of course, with the restart, they're all going to be on much fresher sets. They're going to have no wear on them whatsoever. and it's going to be a fantastic, tantalising end to this Grand Prix as Alvaro Carreton and Ismail Fassi trade places. The two net leaders looking to work together, pull an advantage to Tamas Gal, who hasn't got any DRS at this point in the Grand Prix. He'll be at the mercy of Ulash Zildjian and Thomas Ronhaar when he eventually gets into DRS range on the back of the Haas. Alfie Butcher, Otis Lawrence, Tom Manley, they're all going to be in that train as well, and we should see some fantastic racing towards the end, provided we don't see any safety cars ruin the fun.
Yeah, hopefully not, because I think then it throws strategy back into the air, and they all, well, out of the end, they all go back onto a set of softs or mediums to the end. So hopefully we don't get presented with that, and we can have a very fun final few laps in this race. Obviously, we can see the net leaders technically are those in the top three now, but we know that most of those will pit, so it will obviously be Alvaro, Ishmael and Tamas at the moment who lead the way. Obviously, Tamas has lost some DRS to the top two, so he needs to try and get it back if he wants to be able to try and factor into this race later on. We can see at the front, Ruben Progenio into the pits off of those medium tyres, along with, I believe that'll be Ono Otmir and Betchaba Konyi into the pit lane along with Dylan Moran as well to join the party. So it'll be Jake ahead of Ison, ahead of Luke Smith now, who the way, and Dylan gets a 5-second penalty.
Oh, Dylan. A big mistake there from the Ferrari driver. It seems like all of them on the mediums, aside from Dylan Warren. So very interesting call from him there. Once again, Ismail Fassi and Alvaro Carreton trading places. They are still pulling a gap to Tamas Gal, who has got Ulash Zildjian all over the back of him. And Tamas Gal, just to add to his worries, actually has no battery whatsoever. Ulash can see that by that flashing red light at the rear of his Alpha Tauri in towards the braking zone at turn number 4. Will Ulash Zildjian look for the move? Doesn't seem like it, as Ismail Fassi is through on the traffic. That is Brendan Lee. What a sad story for Brendan Lee. Essentially now, Nathan, after losing all those places, he's a pit stop behind Ishmael and Alvaro.
Yeah, it's a big shame, isn't it, indeed, for Brendan Lee in this race. Couldn't really defend at all from the Williamses at all in towards turn 4 and turn 7. So a big shame for him in this race. You can see Tamas Gal's already put 5 tenths on him in 1, 2, 3 corners. So yeah, Brendan Lee, I think, is probably, I don't think he can really hope for much apart from a safety car here in this race. He's got a penalty to go with it as well. So I can't see Brendan Lee getting any points in this race whatsoever. So a big shame for him indeed, as we can see, obviously, Tamas Gal looking to bring that gap down to a second if he can. By the end of this final set, the gap being 1.2 seconds. We can see his fan, Luke Phillip, all into the pits now off of their tyres. So we thought maybe Phillip could go to the end, but he thinks not. He'll be going back onto a set of new tyres. Obviously, he's onto a set of softs. We should see Phillip as well onto a set of softs along with Luke Smith. Oh no, Luke Smith onto a mediums, and so is Phillip pressuring. So a bit of an odd strategy there for this one. Pookie onto medium tyres here.
Yeah, Thomas Ronhaar through on Ulash Zildjian. Meanwhile, as Alfie Butcher is through on his teammate, as is Otis Lawrence, who looks up the inside now of Alfie Butcher. Alfie Butcher and Ulash Zildjian, flash back to last week, had a collision in Saudi Arabia. Looks like they've sorted out those issues, and they're still running very strong here this evening, as here comes Thomas Ronhaar up the inside of Tamas Gal. Will Thomas Ronhaar be the one to lead this train up to the back of the two Williamses of Ismail Fassi and Alvaro Carreton, who are now reeling in Jake Benham like a fish on a line, and it's only a matter of time before Ishmael and Alvaro are all over the back of that Mercedes. And when that happens, I gotta say, Nathan, Jake Benham doesn't have a prayer of defending from them.
No, definitely not. So he's going to be under a lot of pressure, I think, coming to the end of this race. So what's that, 13 laps to go. He's got to hope they don't gain, over a second lap, which I think they will do. So Jake could just be holding on for dear life towards the end of this race, unless he can somehow slot himself into that DRS and not lose a second lap, which I think will be quite hard for him to do. Further back, we can see Thomas Ronhaar also onto a brand new set of tyres. He now heads down towards turn 1. Brendan Lee into the pit lane now off of his set of hard tyres. I think he knows that they're at the end stages here, and Thomas Ronhaar could be looking for a podium here in this race, along with Alfie Butcher, who's looking to gain in towards that first corner. Obviously, Thomas got that double DRS because his teammate being ahead, so we'll see him defend for an extra lap. We can see further ahead, all moves being made. We can see Otis Lawrence, bit of a send and spins it round. I think bit of a consequence for sending it. He went way too deep, and we've seen that happened 3 times in this race, Dan. That is quite a surprise.
Otis, man, that's just textbook stuff. I don't know why this has been such an issue, but I think in this race, Otis has been very guilty of it. Going for these very late moves. I've seen it every time from him there, and it's something that really does need to be ironed out, and I think he's gotten away with it in past laps, and he's looked cool whilst doing it. But he's not the quickest guy on this field like he was back on the Xbox days. He isn't able to do the things that he used to do, and that is because he's at a level that's so much higher than what it used to be, and he's paying the price for it. Hopefully, he comes to a realization of that very, very soon, and these incidents don't happen again, but he has paid the price in his own way of paying it. And I think no one else really was involved in the incident there. It was just a completely self-inflicted wound from Otis Lawrence there, who is now all the way down in P9 and 2 seconds off the back of Ulash.
Yeah, I think he can try and gain it back if he can. It's going to be a struggle, but then again, Ulash is on those 9-lap-old medium tyres, so it could still be a bit of time for Otis to get himself back within that top 4, top 5. You can see Alfie Butcher make a move ahead of Thomas Ronhart, Tom Manley ahead of Tarashka for P6 and P7. Obviously, bad for Tarashka to have that penalty. Definitely going to drop him down maybe 1 or 2 positions in this race, which is a big shame considering he's been looking quite strong. Obviously, after that restart, he was not doing too well in the first lobby, but we're coming to the second one. It seems he's really got himself into a bit more of a comfortable situation. We can see further ahead, Ishmael Fassi still behind the back of his teammate Alvaro Caraton. They've gained in, 2 seconds in the past 2 laps on Jake Benham, meaning they're probably gaining about a second a lap on the All-Star in front. So obviously now it's going to be hammer time for Alvaro and Ishmael to gain in and make the moves. I think Jake he might be able to get points here still, being as how far the gaps is behind, but it's going to definitely be a struggle here for him.
Absolutely, as this race continues along, we're coming up towards now 11 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We are well and truly within the twilight phase of this race. Those hard tyres strapped onto Jake Benham's Mercedes, they are going to begin to fall off very, very soon. Alvaro and Ishmael know this, and they've pulled about 3 seconds in the span of the last 3 or 4 laps. So Alvaro and Ishmael, they're casting their line out, Nathan. They're getting closer and looking to hunt and potentially secure a 1-2 for the Williams team, and that's going to be some big points for the pair of them, which is actually going to mean quite a lot, because Ishmael is potentially in the fight for P3 in this championship. Once he overtakes Danny Berejnay, he will be 3rd, and potentially, if he's outscoring Thomas Ronhart, maybe he could fight for 2nd.
Yeah, it's more than possible. I think as well, obviously, Jan Otmir, big shame for him at the moment. 8 of the points here in this race. Obviously, Thomas Ronhart, who's hunting him down, he's in the points, along with Ishmael Fassi as well in 3rd. And I did think I'd be saying at one point that Thomas Ronhart is 6 positions ahead of Jan Otmir, but here we are. Obviously, Thomas has turned it around completely and made the strategy work. It just depends on what he can do going to the end. And I think, obviously, with Jana being quite far back, I can definitely see Jake Benham trying to play a part in this by trying to hold the pack up to allow Jana to be a little bit more close to the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. As this race continues along, 10 laps ago this time by Alvaro Caraton and Ishmael Fassi taking the better part of a 2nd off the back of Jake Benham, who really is beginning to struggle with these tyres. And the worst thing that Jake can do, I gotta say, is look at that delta coming down, because then that's going to play onto his mind. A lot of it is to do, I'd say maybe 50% of racing is actually due to just your raw talent, and the other 50% is mental, and that includes your strategy, how you perceive things and whatnot. However, Ishmael Fassi might have to look in his mirrors, because here's Alfie Butcher arriving onto the scene and disrupting the Williams party, and he gets himself into P3 and onto the podium now.
Also, the ones doing that in the pit lane, so that is it here for the one. Unfortunately, going to be out the session. Big shot. Obviously, had that spin earlier on from, I think it was Ulas who's winning, or someone, I can't remember who. And obviously, now he's dropped himself all the way down to the back of the field. Big shame indeed for Dylan Warren in this race. We can see as well, looking for moves, is Ulas yet again on the back of Tamas Scout. Tamas has got the DRS, means he can get that position ahead. Obviously, losing 3 drivers in this race, being Dylan Warren, Jack Weston will lose. Big shame for those guys who I think could have definitely looked for points here in this race. So, definitely not their ideal races whatsoever. Further back, we can see obviously Ruben Progenia looking to get in on the back of Jano Otmir, and Jano was actually, it was 2 seconds off the pack earlier. Now he's in the top 10, a second back from Otis Lawrence. He could also be looking to have a bit of a redemption here.
Absolutely is now Alvaro Caraton going to have to defend from Alfie Butcher. I wonder what the plan is for these guys in catching Jake Benham. Those mediums aren't going to last forever. Jake Benham is going to pull up a little bit of pace in comparison to them. Maybe not enough to really defend that time all too well, but it might be enough to hold them off for the time being. Alfie Butcher and Alvaro Caraton, the worst thing they can do is side by sides in towards turn number 1 and 2. Alfie needs to make this move as clean as possible. Alvaro cannot fight it, and that is what they have done. And Thomas Ronhart looking up the inside now of Ishmael Fassi. Is there going to be a little bit of contact here in towards the braking zone at turn number 2? Ishmael going to be able to hold off Thomas ever so slightly, and Nathan, I haphazardly thought that maybe we're going to see another Otis situation there.
It was close, wasn't it? Because Thomas braked quite late, and we can see into turn 4 again. Thomas looking to make a move, but couldn't quite get it alongside the Williams in towards that braking zone. But I think Ronhart is also a person we could be looking at here to try and maybe even fight for victory, because he's got decent tyres, he's got decent pace, he's in a decent situation. He could also be looking to go from 17th to 1st, which is something that we wouldn't have imagined at all at the start of this race.
It's really unprecedented scenes from Thomas Ronhaar. Can he be the one to take victory in this Grand Prix? If Jake Benham gets a time penalty at this point, Alfie Butcher will only need to gain a 10th to win this Grand Prix. Alvaro Carreton, Ismail Fassi, Thomas Ronhaar have all also got decent chances. But how about this from Jake Benham? You got to admire him, considering the fact that in the first race, Nathan, he actually DNF'd, and now look at him, he's back, he's fulfilling his redemption arc and is potentially taking victory in this Grand Prix. But it is going to be a very, very big challenge, and I think once DRS has been gained for the 4 charging cars in behind, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to defend as they approach turn number 1. Thomas Ronhaar had a half look towards the outside of Ismail Fassi, but they'll remain the way they are.
Yes, so we can see Otis Lawrence down to P12 in this race. You're not into P7 ahead of both Ulas and Tamash into one corner. Brilliant move there from the Flying Dutchman. Remember, he can try and get himself fighting for that podium again. He's got a 1.8 second gap to Tom Manley, who's obviously got no DRS. So Jarno should gain on him pretty easily in this race. So actually, Jarno could be on for a very good point scoring here. As we can see, obviously, Ulas back behind Tamash Gamp, Ruben Bregenio in the top 10 now ahead of Ben Chabakonya, who's also having a very decent race so far. So good to see the AlphaTauri is looking to try and both get some points here tonight. We can see some Pookie obviously on those set of softs, trying to make something work. On the back of Otis Lawrence now, obviously Otis had that bit of contact earlier on when he spun, and he's lost him not to Tom now. I think he's definitely not going to be scoring points here tonight, as we can see some Pookie comfortably gaining here on the back of the McLaren down towards turn 12.
I wonder if Jarno Opmeer, is there an outside chance of him maybe fighting for the win at the end of this Grand Prix? I'm very hopeful for the Flying Dutchman. I think he's been very hard done by in this Grand Prix, but he's got the freshest tyres out of anyone in the top 10 at the minute, barring Ruben Pedreño. They're equal on pace. And if Jarno is able to get up to the pack, maybe he could be the one to take the fight to them, as Thomas Ronhaar is all over the rear of Ismail Fassi. He'll pull to the inside line, not to make a move, but to cool the engine and just chill out in behind, as yeah, they're just going to all follow each other into that first corner. It's very hopeful to think that Jarno could potentially take the fight for the win. He's going to not have the best track position, but have the best tyres, Nathan.
Indeed, he will, and obviously he just needs to get past the back of Tom Manley, which shouldn't be too difficult once he gets himself within a second, which he's done now, into turn 4. I think once he's got the past Tom Manley, it's then clear air to Thomas Ronhaar. So yeah, I think Jarno could definitely easily be fighting for a podium here. Maybe not the victory, because he's got quite a few cars to get through, but yeah, I think a podium is definitely on the cards here for the Flying Dutchman here tonight. Obviously, you can see Jake Benham now under more pressure. Alfie Butcher got a 1.2 second gap to the other Mercedes, so we'll see what can he do to try and influence his race, to try and get Jarno back within the grasp of a podium or a victory here tonight. Obviously, we've got Ismail Fassi, Thomas Ronhaar, and Jarno Opmeer in that top 10. Obviously, we know Jarno leads the championship ahead of, I believe it'll be it's Thomas, Danny, and Ishmael. So obviously, Thomas and Ishmael looking to gain points here on the Flying Dutchman, but Jarno looking to try and say, no, I will be gaining more points on you. Even though my strategy was looking a little bit hopeful earlier on, he's now looking to do a very good job.
Yeah, Alfie Butcher now within the DRS range of Jake Benham. Is this where the reign of terror from Jake Benham ends in this race? We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the double DRS zone means that Alfie Butcher is not going to have a taste of it until turn number 12. That means Alvaro Carreton, if he wants to be the one to take the fight to the Mercedes, he'll try and make the move now. But already you can just see the difference in tyres. These are 15 lap fresher medium tyres in comparison to Jake Benham's 26 lap old soft. There's going to be night and day difference. Jake Benham is practically crawling through the second sector, and I think if Alfie's able to get through now, it's going to be very difficult for the likes of Alvaro Ishmael to get through on the Mercedes, and so maybe he could do a good job. But it seems like for the time being, Jake Benham is really just holding him up here. Wow, doing his best job just to park the bus and allow for Tom Manley and guess who, Jarno Opmeer, to potentially catch up, Nathan.
Look at that gap, it's come down to 2.4 seconds as they're heading towards the stadium section. The gap's just constantly coming down and down and down. Alfie wants that DRS, of course, so doesn't want to make the move there. As you can see, Ronhaar up the inside of Ismail Fassi. Oh, and they're all DRS chicken. I think Jake broke a little bit too hard to go with 3-1 into the final corner. And Jake's ready. Oh, dear me. Jake got contact with Alfie Butcher and himself, and they're all now going 3-1 at the final corner, back down towards turn 1. It's Alvaro ahead of Alfie. Thomas and Ismail Fassi here. And a bit of contact on the straight.
Now Thomas Ronhart looking to go through on Alfie Butcher, heading down in towards turn number 1. Tom Manley and Jan Ortmere arriving onto the scene in towards the break zone at the first corner. Ishmael Fassi going to stay in behind for the time being. Look who's in the top 5. Jarno Ortmere has made his way into the potential fight for the win. Nathan, it is 9:37 p.m. at the minute. We should have finished by now, but how about this? We're being treated to some great quality action here on lap number 32.
Indeed, and I think it looks like, you know, Jake maybe braked in towards there, so it could be a heavy penalty for him indeed in this race. He's obviously pitted onto a set of softs, so definitely not ethical, and we could see, you know, people being a bit angry, obviously helping Jarno out by doing that. We'll see what happens at the end of this race. Of course, what we can see, Alfie Butcher looking to gain in on the back of Thomas Ronhart, and still, the two Williamses, Dan, even though everything's happened in this race, they've always found themselves in that top 5. They're doing a brilliant job, aren't they, Alvaro and Ishmael here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. However, Jan Ortmere is on 4-lap fresher tyres than Ishmael Fassi. Is he going to try and make quick work of the Spaniard? Oh, Ishmael defending that inside line in towards the hairpin corner, but Jan Ortmere, he knows he has got bags of pace in comparison to the Williams. So here they go off the exit of the final corner. What can Jan Ortmere do? A flash of the ERS. We're 82% for the Dutchman. He's closing to the back of Ishmael Fassi in towards turn number 1. Is this the first one off his hit list? It seems like Ishmael pulling away ever so slightly. Meanwhile, Thomas Ronhart at the front of the order, looking to the inside of Alvaro Carreton, maybe having to defend from Alfie Butcher. In towards that first corner they go. Lap 33 of 36. No one's giving yet.
They head back down towards turn 4 once again, and we can see Alfie looking to gain in on the back of Ronhart, but no move's been made this time around. Jarno Ortmere getting in on Ishmael. Fassi goes to the outside line. Ishmael defends it. Jarno goes deep. Bit of contact between Ishmael and Alfie as they head through. Can Jarno get that move done for P4? I think he can. Yes, he does. Jarno Ortmere now into P4. Brilliant there from the Flying Dutchman now. On fire.
That is sublime from Jarno Ortmere. A superb move around the outside of Ishmael Fassi. Undeniable from the Flying Dutchman, who is now on the precipice of retaking a podium in this Grand Prix. Alfie Butcher, Thomas Ronhart with 2-lap older tyres than Jarno Ortmere. Alvaro Carreton with 3-lap older tyres. It's looking good for Jarno Ortmere in his hopes of winning this Grand Prix. Next time by, it's 3 to go. Take your picks now. Who is taking the win in this Grand Prix? It can go any which way, but how about this? What a story, what a narrative from Jarno Ortmere as he closes to the back of Alfie Butcher and Thomas Ronhart, heading down that main straight. What can the Dutchman do?
34 out of 36, 2 laps or 3 laps left to go here in this race. We can see them all gaining in. We can see Ronhart looking for a move to the lead. We've got Ronhart to lead. Alfie Butcher looking to take second away from Alvaro Carreton. So Alvaro now down to P3 in this race. Unless he defends it, he does go around the outside into turn 1. Has the inside at turn 2. Back to the outside for turn 3. Slight bit of contact. Back now, Jarno. Davide next.
Oh, wow!
Jarno Ortmere through on 2 drivers into 1 corner. Possibly he does get it. Jarno Ortmere into P2 in this race. And now we can still see them trying to make moves. And no, they can't. Jarno Ortmere now with Thomas Ronhart, the 2 rivals, fighting for P1 and P2.
The cerebral assassin himself, Jarno Ortmere, striking again. It's Triple H in the flesh here. He waited. He knew that he needed to play the mind games there. He let Alfie and Alvaro do their battling, and look at that. Look how it's paid off. He's reaping the rewards that he's sown ever since he's got back up into this train. Lap number 34 of 36. We're coming on towards 2 laps to go. This time by Jarno Ortmere, looking like he can take victory for the second week running on the back of Thomas Ronhart through the final sector. They go. Jarno is going to make his intentions clear here. Let's have a look at the ERS. 64 for Jarno, 54 for Thomas Ronhart. This is the rivalry that we are expecting. It's the 2 championship leaders doing battle and towards turn number 1. Jarno will close with the DRS, Nathan, but it looks like he's made his intentions clear. He wants to go for it on the final lap.
He's going to sit behind the back of Thomas Ronhart into turn when he goes. Alfie Butcher closing in as well to sit back on this train. I think the 2 Williamses might be a little bit out of this due to their tyre age, but I think Alfie Butcher still very in this as they head back down towards turn 4. DRS being enabled. Jarno Ortmere is not going to go for the move just yet. He sits behind as they heading towards that break-in zone. He knows he wants that DRS on that final lap to give him the advantage. Down to turn 1, obviously we're on the penultimate lap here now. The next DRS they gets down to turn 12. Then it'll be down to turn 1 where we can see Jarno Ortmere strike attack. Obviously with that double detection zone, Dan, it means Jarno can make him into turn 1 and then pull away again into turn 4.
Absolutely, Jarno Otmir has all the cards in his hand. He has played this so patiently, and what a story this has been for the Flying Dutchman. After having a big spell of bad luck, double stacking behind his teammate was not the option, and it, oh my word, Thomas Rana sandbagging Alfie Butcher around the outside of them both, and Alfie Butcher all of a sudden, Nathan, into the lead of this race. What have we just witnessed? Thomas Rana trying to sandbag, allow for Jarno Otmir to go through, and they both of them have paid the price. Here comes Alfie Butcher leading the way on towards lap number 36. Thomas Rana and Jarno Otmir doing battle, heading in towards turn number 1. This is when you've got to deploy it all on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Thomas Rana to the lead of this race. Jarno Otmir following on through, but Thomas Rana taking P1 and Jarno Otmir sitting behind in second.
Indeed, because we could see there now Jarno going to have to try and close in, but Thomas has DRS into turn 4, so we'll still see a battle, and he's gone a little bit wide. This is allowing Jarno to get into the outside. He goes, will it be Jarno? Will it be Thomas? Who has the lead in towards turn 4? Thomas breaks later, has the inside line, but he goes steep, he goes very deep. That allows Jarno to go around the outside. Contact between the two, and they go ghost as they head in towards turn 6. I think Jarno's got it here.
Jarno Otmir leading the way on the final lap of this race. Thomas Rana falling at the final hurdle. He played the tactics to perfection, but it hasn't worked out, unfortunately. And Jarno Otmir, undeniable from the very beginning, on pole in the wet. He's faced adversity throughout this entire Grand Prix with a good deal of luck from his teammate Jake Benham, doing a fantastic job defending. Jarno Otmir, your championship leader. The confetti, the fireworks all over, littering the circuit through the Peraltada for the final time. Thomas Rana can do no more. Jarno Otmir, 2 weeks in a row, will take victory here in PSGL. What a race from the Flying Dutchman. Thomas Rana, credit to him in second. Alvaro Carreton rounding out the podium. But how about that from Jarno Otmir?
Absolutely brilliant there between Jarno and Thomas on that final lap. I think he got into a bit of contact, but I think for now that will be all that'll be settled down just for now, and we can let Jarno and Thomas celebrate there, first and second place. But also Alvaro Carreton onto the podium, getting himself into that third position. Obviously, you could see brilliant move from, I suppose, for Thomas' sake, brilliant move from him to hold Jarno back to allow, obviously, then Alfie to go around the outside, to then give Thomas some DRS to hold him, but he just couldn't quite get it into turn 4. But I think either way, Jarno, Thomas and Jake all tried many different strategies they could to get it to work, and I think in the end Mercedes come home with it in the better hand. Obviously, Jarno Otmir, I think at one point I was thinking he's not going to get points here because his tyres were old. He was at P12 in the train on 19 lap old hards, but in the end he come home with a victory. Absolutely brilliant, and I think there, he was amazing, wasn't it, Dan?
I know, and I'm going to stick with the WWE references here. It's all about the game and how you play it, and Jarno Otmir knows it like the back of his hand. What a race from the brilliant, the undeniable, the ever-dominant Jarno Otmir, as we're waiting to see the podium celebrations on our screens. I mean, wow, what a race. Jarno Otmir, so excited to hear from him in the live chat. There he is, celebrating atop the podium. Of course, he has got his in-game model for being a two-time esports champion. What a drive from him. Well done to Thomas Rana and Alvaro Carreton in second and third position. Let's have a look then at your finishing order. Jarno Otmir winning this race ahead of Thomas Rana. Alvaro Carreton in third. Alfie Butcher going to feel a little bit hard done by in P4 at the end of that one there. Of course, he didn't get any DRS for the double DRS detection zone. When he was running in third, he really didn't expect to make that move. Ishmael Fassi in fifth. Sixth was Tom Manley. Seventh, Ben Jabberconyi. Luke Smith in eighth. Ninth is Philip Presnader. Tamas Gal rounding out that top 10. And the last of the points paying positions, Isman Pukki in 11th. 12th is Otis Lawrence. Ulas Zildrum 13th. 14th, Ruben Pedreño. Jake Benham 15th. 16th is Brendan Lee. And then DNFing out of this one, Dylan Warren, Jack West, Will Lewis, and we'll count him, Freddie Rasmussen, out of this Grand Prix. Nathan, that brings us to the end of what was... we had to wait a long time for it, but that was a very exciting Mexican Grand Prix.
It was. I think, Steam rewarded us with the great ending. I think it was brilliant. I think one of the best ends we could ask for in a Mexican Grand Prix. And obviously, I didn't really expect that kind of thing for Alfred Butcher to get involved. I thought he was going to stay behind, but no, we saw that opportunity. We went around the outside of both of them. Brilliant move from him. But obviously, he knew he wouldn't have that DRS, and that kind of cost him. I think that possible victory. I think if he was able to keep in second between Jarno and Thomas, he could have definitely been looking for a victory here in this race. But either way, we come out in P4. He did a brilliant job. But I think also hats off to the Williamses. Obviously, Alvaro and Ishmael, third and fifth. Every single time in the first race and in the second race, they was always in that top 3, top 5. They did a brilliant job to make those strategies work. So I think, a lot of drivers in that top 10, they all tried different things and they all worked in their own ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone just had their own narrative throughout the entirety of this Grand Prix, but it was Jarno Opmeer's that was just the most powerful in the end. It's the plot armor, I think, is working in the favor of Jarno Opmeer. Wow. In a moment's time, I'll bring us over to the interview room and we can have a chat, hopefully, to anyone who's finished on the podium and wants to have a little word with us. Shout out, by the way, to Jake Benham. I think that was a great defensive drive from him to allow for Jarno Opmeer to actually catch up in all of that. So, yeah, what a way to end off that race. I think now is the time, Nathan. Will bring us over to the interview room just to have a wee little look, see who is in the waiting room. Doesn't seem like anyone for the time being. We'll wait here for just a minute's time. But Nathan, what else can we say?
Obviously next week we're back to mystery, aren't we?
I think so. Should be a very fun mystery circuit. It always brings up a treat here today, or here in the PSGL calendar, and I think all the drivers tend to love it. Nathan, I'm a big fan of it. How about yourself?
I think it's great. I think it's nice because the thing is, it gets drivers off that kind of, the sweaty attitude to practice. Some of them, I think people like Freddie don't really practice much for PSGL. I think he just kind of rocks up and does what he needs to do and goes off. But you see many drivers in the grid who will spend hours. They will spend maybe a whole week practicing for a circuit. Once it's a mystery track, there's none of that there at all. They've just got to hope it's a track they like. And then when that practice comes out of it, you too tend to see lots of different results because you can see kind of, it's not down to who's practice, it's just down to who's quick is on the night and who can adapt quickly, because you've got to adapt to a circuit very quickly. Obviously, if it's a track that maybe, you get into it, maybe it's Jeddah, and then it turns out it's wet Jeddah, then everyone's in a bit of an issue then. So I think it is nice to have that bit of different bit of adaptation. It's a bit of unknown going into it, but I do believe then we do have Jarno Opmeer in the waiting room.
All right, then. I will head us back over then to the interview room, and I'll drag in the Flying Dutchman if I can. There we go. Jarno Opmeer has been brought into the commentary box. Jarno, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
All right, so first and foremost, really well done for myself and Nathan. Let's talk about that qualifying on pole, but it wasn't by too much to Freddie in the end. Let's talk about that lap from you.
Yeah, it was a good lap. I caught up to Philip a little bit in the last sector, so I got some dirty air there. So for a brief moment, I thought I'd bottle it again, but yeah, I knew in the wet from Q2, of course, I had good pace. So yeah, just happy to finally get a pole position again, to be honest, because yeah, it's been so long ago. I don't think I can remember the last time I got pole position. It was definitely not on this game or last game, if I'm correct. So yeah, it was just good to finally get the pole position again, even though it was in the wet.
And of course, starting out in that second race, we won't really talk about that first race. I mean, I have no idea what happened there with all the Steam server issues. But heading in to that second race, the safety car comes out. Jake gets to pit. What was going through your head at that point?
Yeah, as you can imagine, I was fuming. But yeah, of course, Thomas and Brendan played a smart team game as well, with Thomas boxing, Brendan staying out. We didn't do that, but yeah, then once Jake realized he wasn't making it to the end, he played the ultimate team game as well. So yeah, without Jake, I would have not won in the end for sure, no doubt about it. I would have maybe finished P4, P3, which honestly I would have been happy with as well after that first stint of the second race. But yeah, I was just very frustrated, simply because the first race I was basically leading. It looked like I had it in the back, to be honest. Of course, Mexico is always a bit tricky with DRS, but I felt really, really comfortable. And then the second race happened, and it was like looking like I wasn't going to get any points. So yeah, mix of emotions, to be honest. But of course, yeah, very happy that Jake sacrificed himself in the end. again in order to help me. So yeah.
Yeah, and let's talk about lap number 35. We saw in that final sector, there was a Sauber car that stopped right in front of you. You didn't choose to go through, and Alfie Butcher ended up taking the lead. Heading onto that final lap, what was the game plan from you there?
Yeah, I just wanted to have DRS, to be honest. I knew I had fresher tires, of course, but the DRS is so strong. It's a double detection, so you don't get DRS on the second straight as well if you're not behind someone. And yeah, Alfie decided to take the risk. Someone at some point had to go through, of course. So yeah, it was a bit of DRS chicken. But yeah, in the end, somehow everything stayed clean, which was a miracle as well. Considering we were all playing DRS chicken and moving around, so somehow it kept clean going into that last DRS zone. But yeah, it was good fun for sure.
And one last thing from me, not really relating to this race, but it's actually about the last one. I understand you made a promise to your Twitch chat if you won the race from P11. I can't really mention it on the PSGL stream, but did you ever pull through and all that?
No, I can't. I'll lose my job. I can't do it. I was thinking about it after the first hint about saying something again as well, but I was like, no, not this time. I'm not doing it.
Well, see, I was in your chat last time when that happened, and I wanted to get a word in about it, but unfortunately, I didn't get my opportunity. So I'm glad I've got vindication here today. But that's all from me. Really well done in this race, and I hope next time out in the mystery races you can have a fun time. Nathan, anything you want to say to Jarno here?
Well, for once, I've got a question for someone, and that is obviously going towards the qualifying. Obviously, it was wet. What was your thoughts on that? Would you have preferred it to be dry throughout qualifying, or was you happy with it being wet?
I reckon in dry it's a little bit tighter, like gap wise. So if you make a small mistake, you get punished much harder. Whereas I feel like in the wet, the skill gap usually in all categories in the wet is just a little bit bigger. So if you do have the pace, then you get away with it. And the pressure is a little bit off. So yeah, after Q2, I just preferred it to be wet, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's all from me. So, Jarno, congratulations on the victory, and we hope to see you again next time at the mystery round.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, fantastic race from Jarno Otmir there. We'll let him get away and enjoy that race win. He was better than everyone here this evening, but Thomas Ronhaar kept him very humble throughout the entirety of it. We have Thomas in the interview room now. Thomas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so starting up with this race, actually let's talk about your qualifying. 17th on the grid. You're normally way up the order. What went wrong there?
Yeah, just a stupid mistake, invalidate my lap, and that was it, to be honest. Stupid mistake, like I said. And hopefully that will never happen again in the championship and in my whole career, because that is a shame, because signing P17 and your rival signing P1 is good luck closing that gap in one race. Of course, with the restart, so I got a bit more lucky. Like I said, Jarno got screwed over a tiny bit by the safety car, but they did really well to catch back and win the race on track. Had a good battle with everybody today, and just had a little review on my stream as well about the last lap. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything here. It was good racing, nevertheless, and let's see what happens in the coming weeks.
Yeah, well, I mean, heading into the mystery rounds, how confident are you actually feeling that you can take the fight to Jarno? Of course, these are more points being dropped in the title hunt. Are you still confident you can fight for the championship here?
Oh, absolutely. Even I might not even lose points in this race because you never know what can happen with the stewards. But like I said, we'll see what happens. I'm quite confident anyway that my pace is very good and definitely going to be able to win race, hopefully. And yeah, hopefully it's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, I think that's all from me. Nathan, anything you want to say to Thomas Ronhaar here?
No questions, but yet again, just congratulations on the P2, Thomas, and hopefully we can see you at the top step next week at the mystery race.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Dan, as well. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Thank you to Thomas Ronhar joining us in the interview room. That brings us to the end of our interview section. Unfortunately, no Alvaro Caraton coming in to speak with us here tonight. So I think, Nathan, we're all good to wrap it up. It's almost 10 o'clock. I don't think I've ever streamed this late before. I'm hungry, so I think we're going to make this one quick.
Indeed, yes. I'm very hungry myself. It's been a good one, hasn't it, Dan? I think the race went well in the second race, but the first race not so much. And qualifying also was pretty interesting. So I think overall it was a very good race.
Yeah, well, it was a fantastic show here in Mexico. Steam actually decided to make us wait for it, but I'm glad we did. That was a really fun way to go out here this evening. And thank you to everyone, by the way, for tuning in tonight. We still, when we had nothing going on at the minute, we had 1,900 viewers in the live chat, which I think is just incredible to see that level of commitment that people have to just watching the stream. And it was so incredible throughout the entirety of it. And actually, we peaked more later on this evening. I think we might... Oh, no, a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, we still had some incredible viewers towards the end of the... apparently, Jake is... No, Jake... We're not getting Jake in for an interview. Apologies, everyone. But, yeah, it was just so incredibly fun to interact with everyone in the live chat. I'm glad I got to know everyone's dinner. At one point. That was riveting conversation that we had there. But I think that is everything. Thank you everyone so much for being patient with us throughout all the issues in Q1, the Discord lag, the Steam resetting. We had the whole trifecta of issues with OBS, Discord and Steam, but you stuck by us throughout the end of it, and it was incredibly fun to be a part of this or with you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel, and make sure you're following the Twitch as well. You can just hit that. It'll be right beneath the stream. If you want to follow us on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok, it'll be at PremierSimGL. And if you want to keep up to date with all your PSGL news, you can join the Discord. The link is in the description. My name is Dan Field. You can find me on Twitter at DanFieldF1. Nathan, where can they find you?
We're on Twitter, Richie F1, obviously with the I's replaced with ones. We're on TikTok now. I think it's Nathan Richards 1. I can't remember. I don't know what my TikTok name is. And then yeah, that is pretty much it. I'm not a very social person on all the different platforms.
Well, yeah, I'm just on Twitter, so I'm really not out there all that much. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll get on all the other social medias very, very soon. But that is everything from us this evening. Thank you once again so much for tuning in. We will see you next time out for the mystery race.
Goodbye.
He's got the inside off, here he's through, on the left hand side, hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Yana Watmere now, to the last couple of corners now, his finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Yana Watmere wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.